Good evening. Welcome to our School Board of Directors Committee of the Whole, Thursday, January the 20th, 2023. We will start with our committee reports. First up, education.
All right, good evening, everybody. So got a couple instructional and educational updates. I was asked to give a update concerning Act 158 of 2018. And what that is the graduation requirements from the Pennsylvania Department of Education that's impacting currently all high school students across the Commonwealth. So this, some of the basics behind this mandate, Pennsylvania mandates that certain graduation requirements for all of our students beyond being credit eligible. So before Act 158 of 2018 was initiated, obviously as the date says in 2018, students graduated high school based upon local requirements from local educational agencies. While that still applies, Act 158 2018 places the requirement on not just completing classes and not just passing your courses, but also meeting other competencies in order to successfully graduate from college or from high school. So our class currently, even though the act was initiated in 2018, the first graduating class of students that is impacted by this is our current class of 2023. So in a framework, after passing the local standards, which is passing your courses, students must then fulfill a requirement of what is known as a pathway in order to be eligible for graduation in the Commonwealth. So after seniors look at their coursework and they take a look at the amount of classes that they have passed, if they've earned their local credits, students must fit into a certain specific pathway based upon what fits their needs best for the future. So for the most part, these are directly from the Pennsylvania Department of Education. There are approximately 5 pathways that students can realize in order to successfully graduate. That's including Keystone Proficiency. And what that means is that our students pass all 3 Keystone exams. Keystone Composite, that means that students maintain or attain a certain compilation of points from all of our Keystone exams. A CTE pathway, an alternate pathway, and an evidence-based pathway. So all these things, one of these has to be selected for each graduating senior in order to be successful in order to earn a diploma in high school, beginning with the class this year. So we asked our high school team to take a look at approximately where we are in the process right now. The high school team, consisting of the administration of the high school and our counseling department, has been meeting with students and looking through eligibility standards for all of our students at Academy Park. So these are rough numbers from December into January, and these are very fluid. So as students determine which pathway fits them best, these numbers will change pretty drastically throughout the next couple of months. So we have approximately 354 seniors. Approximately 217 are currently credit eligible. That means that they've met or are on track to meet local education agency requirements for graduation just because of course completion. As of right now, 38 students are credit ineligible, which means that we have 38 students approximately out of those 354 that have not met the local standards for graduation. So if we were looking at this last year, these 38 students would not be eligible to receive a diploma as of right now. 44 students have, based upon the metrics that we currently have, look like they will be able to be taking the Keystone pathway for passing the Keystone exams. About 20 students are identified in the alternate pathway, and about 195 of our credit eligible students have to still determine their pathway. So as our high school team is looking through these numbers and looking through the individual situations. Each of these pathways is going to look at a different way for each of our students. So some of our students may still qualify into the Keystone pathway. A lot of our students might choose the alternate pathway, and there's still a lot of our students that will phase into the evidence-based pathway. Our Knight Academy early data is pretty similar. We have about 51 students over at our Knight Academy that are eligible seniors. About 30 of those students are credit eligible, and we have pretty much the same delineation or breakdown from students there. So what are we doing to ensure that we reach our students and we make sure that the Academy Park administration and counselors and teachers are all working together to get our students on a pathway? So our administration counselors hosted 2 assemblies for our seniors in December to discuss options. Basically, let's bring our kids in, let's find out where they are, and let's find out which pathway fits our students the best. Our counselors have coordinated to provide students who are interested the ASVAB assessment in February, and that's to qualify students who are looking into armed services background. A qualifying score there helps a student reach a pathway. Delaware County Community College has been invited and will be coming in this March because, again, on those pathway requirements, getting into a non-typical 4-year college is an option for a pathway. So if we are accepted into a 2-year community college, that helps to determine a pathway for students. Our counselors are supporting our students with common applications for 4-year college admission, and there are fee waivers for any of those schools that do not apply for those common applications for 4-year college. Obviously, this includes individual conversations with students, service learning projects, and through Ms. Hudson's department as well, credit recovery opportunities have gone out for eligible students who are not currently on track for graduation. So we have a ton of supports and a ton of individuals who are supporting with this process to ensure that our kids become credit and pathway eligible for June for a successful graduation. So obviously we have the administration of the school, our counselors, and our alternative school under Mr. Silva and everything that we have at our Knight Academy. So we still have plenty of work to do, and our counselors, I was just over at our high school last week meeting with our counselors, and they are working with individual students to ensure that our kids are moving in that right direction and choosing a pathway. A couple academic updates that we want to get through. So our curriculum framework, our Sudelco teachers, this is the project that we're doing a literacy revamp as well as a math refresh at the same exact time. Our Sudelco teachers are supporting in consistent rewrites of our literacy framework. Our DCIU staff, as I mentioned at our last meeting, we had another framework session meeting where we took feedback from teachers. We went back to the IU. We're getting new math materials to supplement with that so that our DCIU folks can come back with a third draft of our middle school math framework review before we bring it back to teachers again. And another important consideration, we have our science materials update that we have to start really seriously taking a look at. As I mentioned a couple times in a couple updates, Pennsylvania science standards have changed. They've changed pretty drastically, and we got to really start looking at what does the future of science instruction look like in our district. So that's this just happened a couple months ago, so we are on track for identifying what we're going to do moving forward, identifying new curriculum, identifying new standards, and identifying a curriculum model to go along with that. A couple quick instructional technology updates. We mentioned before the need for document cameras in our schools. They have arrived, and we've already been delivering them to our buildings. County Park High School has been fully outfitted with them. They are getting out to teachers as we speak, and our next schools will be getting them shortly. They're here. We're just cataloging serial numbers, and we're delivering them to schools. And one more thing that we wanted to end on here. So there's been a lot of conversation about quality of food, and nourishing the body helps improve our mind and our educational outcomes. We have been really working hard with our food services department to push a full service or expanded service option as a pilot. We started this at Darby Township Elementary School. I just want to say that so far this has gone extremely well. We continue to modify food offerings. We're taking feedback from our students to find out what's working on the menu, what's not working on the menu. Our food service manager at Darby Township is working very closely with our food service director for the district to determine the appropriate model and appropriate menu of items that we can offer our students. And this is our newest update. We just updated the cafeteria furniture for Darby Township as a pilot, as what we would like to do moving out forward into our other schools once we have the final data from our pilot at Darby Township. So far, the kids love the new seating arrangements. They're not squished together on those old style kind of cafeteria tables. So this is a pilot, and this is where we would like to go as we still try to iron out some of the kinks. And that's my updates. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay, I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if this falls under this category here, as far as the college fairs. And I wanted the board opinion about this. I wanted the colleges and military to come to the high school at least 4 times a year, maybe like first, second, and third, and fourth report card periods. And like I said, I wanted to see how the board feel about that, because I think that's important for the colleges to come to our high school so they could get information as they move on with their education. Now, even with Delaware County, I'm the liaison with Delaware County Community College. They have programs for 9th graders that I wanted the community college to come and present their program to our 9th graders. And another thing, I don't know whether you have mentioned it or not, whether you mentioned this or not, but if you did, I apologize, I missed it. As far as the food service, when our other schools are going to have the same food service? Because yes, I have been walking through schools, and that is an excellent service that you're using for Darby Township, but I like for the other schools to have it as well. So, because especially Academy Park, their lunches are ridiculous. So can you tell me when the other schools may have it?
Sure. So when we announced this and when we heard some of the feedback from our constituents, and we heard some of the feedback that we can do better and we can look at some of our food offerings, and we do fully agree that if a child is hungry in a school environment, they're not going to learn the best, and that's the bottom line. So we wanted to approach this in a systemic way where we can go to the township by the nature of the construct of the building has probably the largest cafeteria and food service prep area of any of our district schools. So by focusing a pilot there, we can iron out a lot of these kinks. They have gone through many items, and they tested many menu items that did not work out well. One of the things that we heard from the cafeteria manager even today, when myself and Mr. Butler stopped by, was that, like, for example, popcorn chicken was expected to be like a mover, and it's not. It's not working. Salads are trending significantly higher in terms of popularity. So getting fresh foods into the schools, we want to get the food concentration and the amount of food that we utilize correct before we start rolling it out to other schools. But we wanted to show proof of concept when I came in front of you guys probably about 8 or 9 months ago with this. We want to show proof of concept so that we know it's successful, we know that it works, and then we can scale it at our other schools. So I'm very with you, Ms. Woodfolk. We want to make sure that all of our district students have the same opportunity.
Yes, the reason why I asked you that is because, once again, through my walk at Academy Park, there are a lot of students at Academy Park that has not eaten all day. And like you said, it's important for them to eat. And they have no money, and they have no way of getting food. So that's why I'm concerned of when we can have this service at Academy Park because it's not healthy for our high schoolers not getting this nutrition, just like a Darby Township. So, and I don't think it's fair because I have spoken to many students and they are not happy with their lunch. And I saw what was being served. I'm not happy either. So how soon can we get it to, Academy Park and to other schools? I'm just thinking we need to move a little bit faster than what we're doing now.
So, and I completely agree. Just from today's conversation, some of the things that came up that we weren't expecting, we need to utilize and look at how we're utilizing refrigeration space. So the food manager saying that we have to take a look at how are we storing stuff in the freezer versus the refrigeration. There's a refrigerator at Darby Township that we might have to take a look at either replacing, refurbishing, or doing some pretty heavy maintenance on. We have to look at fresh food storage. We have to look at slicers, like all those different things that we want to get ironed out at Darby Township before we scale it. Once we have that, then we can look at the individual circumstances of every building. Harris School, for example, has a very different kitchen layout and different infrastructure needs that we'll have to take a look at. So I think we're all in agreement. We want to move as quickly as possible, but we also want to be good stewards of money and making sure that we're making the right investments and purchasing the right equipment that we need.
So what are we going to do now for our students who are not eating? That's my concern. So I know that you say you have to work things through. I understand that.
We're pretty good working through it. And I think
Right.
we're ready. And as long as, I think that's a conversation we have to have.
Right.
If we're comfortable, we can discuss, or we can have further discussions about how quickly can we potentially scale. And I don't want to speak for our food service department.
Okay.
There's individual circumstances at every building that we would have to work through. But I don't think anyone in this room is against talking about the next school, how do we stage that, and then keep going down the line. Like now, I think we're all the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So with the students who are starving today, I mean, what is it that we can do? I don't know. Can you give me some ideas of what we can do for the kids who are starving in school who refuse to eat that lunch?
Yeah. I know at the last time that we had our Academy Park Student Council work speaking, I know our food service managers listened to the students. They heard some feedback from the
Right.
students as to what are some adapted menu items that we can utilize at Academy Park. And I know our food service managers have been working with Academy Park to try to increase those food service opportunities.
Okay.
For other buildings, I think we just got to take a look building by building rapidly and take a look at what we need and what's a reasonable frame of time that we can start scaling.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's exciting, guys, because we are moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And, I get it that it's one school, but we have to make sure this works right before we just go all in and say, we're just going to do this all. And then we have 4 schools that have issues.
I have a question. The Where Is My Passion event is coming up, I believe. Is that in February? I can't remember the date. But
High school's nodding yes.
is it too late to bring, she was suggesting some of the colleges to Where Is My Passion, that event? It's too late to bring them in for that?
I think we can talk with the administration from the high school and the counselors and make sure that we can do that. But, anytime that we can get colleges and universities to speak to our students and encourage them to engage in 2 or 4 year college, I think it's a wonderful opportunity.
You only said that because I know that's what's coming up, and that would correlate with trying to bring military or colleges, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lowry.
Thank you.
And let me also stress that Delaware County Community College has a 2-year program for students who wants their associate's degree. Thank you, associate's degree. And if you want to move your, if you want to further your education, they will guarantee you a scholarship, a 2-year scholarship at Westchester, and they will give you a place to stay. So this is why I want our students to know this, not just once or twice a year. They need to know this at least 4 times a year.
I agree with Split Folk, and that's what the pathways, the PDE requirements
Right.
are. They want to make sure that our kids don't just leave Academy Park.
Exactly.
And go out into the world and we
Right.
don't know, are we doing the CT? Are we doing a trade, which is an amazing thing for kids to get into? But are they on a pathway? Are they going to walk out with an idea of what to do?
Right.
Are they enrolled in a 2-year institution like Delaware County Community College?
Right.
Did we get into a 4-year institution? So the pathways make sense. We want to make sure that our kids are planning for when they walk out of the building.
Exactly.
Make sure that they're just not leaving with a diploma.
Okay, so when you do work on this, can you let the board know of the dates that they are coming in? Because I would like to be present.
No problem.
Thank you.
I'll reach out to our counseling and our administrative team tomorrow, and then we'll start and see what colleges will be willing to.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Ms. Woodfolk, in December, a team of us met with Delaware Community College to look at their dual enrollment program as well as the 2-year program. Our next step was to survey our students. That occurred last week. And today I communicated with Mr. Vogt to now get in touch with them so that they can hold that forum for the families to talk about it because it's only $65 a credit. So we are already working and doing that.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Winder. That was my purpose because I wanted the family to be involved right along with the students. And I wanted to stress another thing is they also have programs for certificates. Okay? They have so many programs that I want our children to know what is out there. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Winder.
One last quick update. You were all given a copy of our January field trip proposed listing too. Per the guidance, we've added a lot of our universities onto the proposed list as they are frequent sites for trips and different academic and sporting events as well. And there's one positive behavior support trip from Darby Township that is noted on there for a potential PBIS trip upcoming for Darby Township School.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I had a question, Dr. Lowry.
Yes, of course.
The contractor that we use for the food service, do you have that handy?
I don't have that handy.
Okay,
Mr. Butler.
okay,
It's not an outside contractor. We do our food services in-house.
okay. And then the timeline, just to support what Ms. Woodfolk was saying, if you could follow up with that, with us, that would be great. Also, she mentioned Delaware County Community College. Williamson and Thaddeus Stevens also has really great technical programs. We want to make sure, can we reach out to them to invite them as well? They're exceptional programs that offer really great opportunities. And a quarterly college career fair, can we talk about that later as a group? Because I'm also in support of having, career advancement and planning much more often.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. What about job fairs for our students? Can we have that also? Because I think that's a good idea as well.
I think a lot of really positive ideas have come out here. I've heard more outreach with colleges, engaging with our 2- and 4-year university partners and college partners, a job fair. What we will do next is meet with our high school team. And a lot of these things, and I don't want to speak for the high school team, a lot of these things could potentially already be in the works, like Dr. Weiner just mentioned.
Right.
We just met with DCCC about potential partnerships and dual enrollment pathways and everything. So what we will do, we'll schedule 2 upcoming meetings. We'll meet with our food service department and we'll see about scalability for that one end. And we'll also meet with the high school team to talk about the ideas and suggestions that we just threw out here.
Yeah, and also, although I am in contact with DCCC, I'm also, I didn't want to eliminate the 4-year colleges too, because there are students who are eligible to get into 4-year college. So, yeah, I just want to add that as well.
And our high school counselor team mentioned that most schools in the area students apply through the common application, so that gives them access to numerous 4-year schools that they can apply and get access to.
Right.
And if there are schools that are not part of that free common application, the school has resources to support with application fee waivers and stuff. Any other questions, guys? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
The Where is My Passion?
Where?
I don't know what the date is for that, but Where is My Passion is them coming out, speaking and having different, I forgot what the date was.
Is he in charge of that?
Hello, everybody. You should have in front of you a little education committee agenda. Has a little circle and math at the top, just to make sure we cover everything. Dr. Lowry just went over the top two things. On the agenda for next Thursday are 6 expulsions. 4 of them, you'll notice on the agenda, have the same date. That is the incident that you may be aware of from the high school fight in the cafeteria. The other 2 incidents are both weapons-related incidents, even though they both say Academy Park. One was Academy Park, the other was the incident over at Alt Ed Collingdale that involved the police. So those are the 6 expulsions that are up for next week. You also have attached to your agenda on the second page a memorandum of understanding. There was an email to the board about a week and a half ago. We had gotten word about one of our teachers, and we also had a need for some athletic training services during the summer. We talked with SDEA, we polled the board, and no one had issue with essentially finding one solution for both problems. That is this MOU. Everybody is aware of it and on board, but it does need to go to a formal vote next week. This is the Singleton teacher who also acts as our athletic trainer as a supplemental, because supplementals are in the SDA contract. It has to be an MOU with the association. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Okay.
So, when you was talking about expulsions,
Okay.
I don't know if this is the proper time to talk about it. I think it would probably be under policy, because I wanted to talk about behavior. Would that be under policy? Okay, I could wait.
I have discipline policies and guidelines coming up under the policy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else about either the expulsions or the MOU?
Can I ask about a previous MOU?
Sure.
So the MOU that we voted on in December for the $300 for teachers who are covering other classes, that MOU was broken down in the payment of $300. There's certain portions of that are for certain things. So there's a portion that is for doing lesson plans, prepping for the class. There's another portion, I believe, for communicating with parents. And there is a third portion that is specifically just for covering the block or the
Teaching
class.
Yep.
Right. So I guess I wasn't clear when I voted. I think I was under the impression that the teachers who covered and taught a block, even if they didn't prep the lesson and because some teachers are being pulled into different classes all the time, right? Like we have some teachers who are like, the original MOU was the one science teacher was covering the chemistry class every day. But there's other teachers who are being pulled in multiple directions. They don't really know until they probably get to school that day what class they may be covering. Is it possible that we could offer them that portion of that $300 that is just for covering the class? Because I feel like at this point, maybe we're discriminating by offering them a much smaller amount.
Is that all the question? Where I go? Okay. So the amount of the MOU has definitely gotten everybody's attention. The original intent was we could not staff one chemistry position. And we had a teacher who offered to do it and requested a certain level of compensation, which is how the first MOU came about. After about a month of that work and the need still happening now in other classes that we didn't fill, we got a request from SDEA that the original amount, $75, was not enough to entice teachers to do it, and that they were requesting to essentially double it to the $150. We brought that to the board, and at the December board meeting, the $150 got voted to a $300, but still covered the same thing. It's just the amount that changed. The reason that we broke it down into specific areas is that we found that after the first teacher went through, we were having teachers that were doing parts of a block. And this was originally designed to just be about the fourth block. If I'm a high school teacher, I make my salary.
Once you are mine.
If I'm a high school teacher, I make my salary on the 3 blocks that I'm teaching. So it was always designed to be that fourth block and how we compensate for the fourth block. Then we broke the fourth block into the 3 different things. We're finding that, one, it's gotten people's attention, and that's great because they're helping us cover classes. But the intent of it was you're teaching that class. And there is a difference between I'm planning, I'm grading, I'm talking to parents, I'm delivering lessons versus I got pulled in to be the body in the room and essentially be the sub. And the reason that's important is because that scenario is also covered in the SDA agreement under missed preps. Now, in the email to the board the other day about the MOU, the new one, there is a difference between what happens at the high school because of the nature of their schedule and what happens at an elementary school and the nature of their schedule. But to get back to the original question is we broke down to 300 because people were doing parts. If the board thinks or SDEA believes that there needs to be additional parts to that MOU, we can take a look at that. But we also had to keep in mind that there was an original request for a certain dollar amount in round 1. Then it went to round 2. Then it essentially went to round 3. And trying to keep things fair along the way, all of that has gotten us to where we are now.
So a teacher who's just subbing 1 block for 1 day at the high school, are you able to share what their pay would be? And then the same at the other buildings, if they're giving up their prep period to cover another class, what are those teachers being paid?
So I'll start at the elementary. I may need some help with the high school. So at the elementary, most people are not being pulled from a prep to go teach something else. If the gym teacher is out, essentially the kids don't get gym that day, and those teachers get, I think it's 47. Where's Charles? 47, thank you. They get $47 a day, they get a missed prep slip, and that's that at the elementary level. We also have a small amount of people at the elementary level, and Mike Moores was one of them before, who have vacated a position, but have still offered to write lesson plans for the class that they just left. So that has fallen under the MOU, but that is rare at the elementary level. At the high school level, you've got the John Daly's of the world. He is giving up his entire fourth block and teaching a class that he was not scheduled for at the beginning of the year. That class is now worth $300 a day by board action in December. You also have some people who are doing parts of that. Some people may just be doing the lesson planning. Some people are just doing the grading in Power School and Google Classroom, and they are getting portions of that. We are working out 2 people with SDA and how we handle the online classes and whether that technically counts as teaching the class or not teaching the class, because there's a teacher on the other side that we're also paying for that's not a member of SDEA. As far as somebody, and Bill, you may have to help me, somebody who's just being pulled to cover, are we just replacing their duty in that scenario? Okay, so the person who's just being pulled in to be the body in the class, not technically teaching, is being treated like the elementary person.
Okay, so how often is a teacher losing their prep? Because here's the thing, I feel like that agreement was made in place with you may get pulled once a week or once every 2 weeks. But if they're missing their prep all 5 days every week, one, is that happening? Are there teachers who are losing most or all of their preps? And I mean, I guess my question to the board, if that is happening, do you feel like that's fair that they're only receiving $47? Because then they're going home and everything they would have done on their prep period, I'm sure they're doing at home.
Potentially. I would add, again, the $47 is contractual. So if the board is interested in changing that, that's another MOU with SDEA. And again, the original intent of the first MOU was teaching the class, not just being the body in the room. There has to be a difference between those 2 things. We are certainly appreciative of everybody who gets pulled to miss a prep and has to be in the room for the kids, but it is a different level and being compensated at a different level when you're doing the whole thing.
Right, but the MOU breaks that down, and it's 140 for just covering the class.
Doing the teaching duties, not just being the body in the room. So it's really two different things for two different activities. But if it wants to be changed in any way, it's an MOU with SDA. They have been more than willing to entertain those discussions.
So I have a question. So what you're saying, if SEDA comes to the board with another MOU about this topic that Ms. Perry just brought up, then the board can consider it?
Well, you can consider it either way. The reason for the MOU is because you have a negotiated agreement. And
Right,
to change
right, I
that
know that.
agreement, one of the other side has to approach the other and make a
Right.
change.
So either the board approach SEDA or SEDA approaches the board?
Correct.
I just want to make sure that's clear. So again.
That's the
either-
start of it.
Right, so either the board comes up with an MOU for SEDA or SDEA comes up with a MOU for the board.
I would swap the term proposal for MOU, but you are correct.
Proposal,
Yep.
a proposal MOU.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Anything else for that? Okay. High school course selection guide. I emailed a copy of the high school course selection guide draft as it stands today because it's 40 pages and I didn't want to print 40 pages for everybody. If you do want a hard copy, I can get you one. We are meeting on Wednesday at noon, the high school staff and myself. We have to get the high school course selection process started. This is usually the timeline. It starts with the approval of the course selection guide, which then turns into course selection for current 8th grade through 11th grade students, which then turns into the master schedule and scheduling process, and then kids getting their classes in time for the start of next school year. Traditionally, that has been done by Jeff Esposito, who is no longer with us. So we are taking it on so that that process may continue in a timely manner. Right now, I will save you the reading. The guide has not changed except for the dates. Usually the changes would be in a couple of different places. One would be course offerings. Right now, and it may change Wednesday before next Thursday's vote, we are not recommending any new courses. Part of that is because of the staffing concerns, that almost anything we would add right now would require removing something else to take its place. So that's one thing. The other two things that will be a discussion, but most likely a longer discussion for the 24-25 school year, are at some point we need to revisit the number of credits needed to graduate. Right now in Pennsylvania, you need 21 credits to graduate. We require 28. Part of the 28 is because there was a credited advisory period about 10 years ago. And while the advisory period went away, the credit requirement for it did not. So we are actually requiring 7 more credits than the state needs to. Don't take that to mean that Jeff is advocating to go back to 21 credits, but understand that every credit above 21 comes with a staffing correlation. The other thing that we need to revisit at some point is a bell skip.
Before we skip over the course selection,
Yep.
in the course selection guide, because this would be going out to parents, correct?
Not yet until you approve.
No.
It will eventually, yes.
Eventually, so is Act 58 in here as well?
The pathways are not in there, we can add that.
So I'm just suggesting.
No, it's not a bad idea.
If they know ahead of time, then they could prepare. And then another issue I have is it the students' fault that we don't have the staff?
No. but
So
I'm not
why-
sure. Go ahead.
Right, so you just said that the course selection guide is the reason you're a little cautious about putting the other courses in here because of staffing issues.
Right, so.
So what
okay.
I'm saying is, that has nothing to do with the students. That's a district issue.
It has nothing to do with the students, it has to do with what we can offer the students. But it's not the students' fault at all.
So are we gonna add it, we're not gonna add it, or?
Well, that will be a discussion on Wednesday. In my opinion, which obviously somebody can tell me I'm wrong, I worry about putting stuff in a course selection guide that we don't know if we can deliver. Because we're already bare bones, even not counting staff openings. We do not offer a lot of electives that a lot of other schools do. A lot of that is economical, but it does have an end result of the elective choices in Academy Park High School are sparse.
Right, I
So
understand.
no, it is not the kid's fault.
Right, I understand that, but again, it's not the student's fault. I think that we should put it inside the course selection guide, and then if that course doesn't get enough students, then we know that we can't facilitate that class.
That
So-
would be correct.
So we're not, so if we had in here, so we had, computer programming,
The
right?
last two courses we added were computer science and financial
Right,
literacy.
so if only 2 students apply for those 2 classes, then we know we're not gonna have 1 person in there teaching 2 students. We could direct them to DCCC, we could direct them to Delaware County Intermediate Unit, you can direct them to the 2 places that Ms. Abney just mentioned, but we should not be limiting our course selection guide because the district is having a problem with hiring.
Okay. We will
Okay,
talk on
thank you.
Wednesday about what potential courses we can add before vote on Thursday.
You keep saying potential. You keep saying potential.
Meaning I don't know which courses we're going to add.
Okay.
Not saying that we're not adding them, but which actual courses? Is it AP Calculus BC? Is it, some kind of government course? Is it an elective studies course? I don't mean potential as we're not doing it. I just mean I
So-
can't give you a title of a course right now.
Right, so for instance, say I'm an AP student, right?
Yep.
And I need the next level math. What would, if it's not in this course selection guide, what am I supposed to do?
Once you go to past AP Calculus and we don't offer anything, we're at the Delaware County or other dual enrollment options.
Okay, thank you.
So when did these electives all disappear?
When did they?
Disappear? The electives that, like
Over
some
the
of the
course
ones I've
of
asked
the,
you. that you
some
don't have.
over the years.
Last 5, last 6, 12?
No, I think the course guide's probably been pretty similar. I don't even know who to ask in the room. Probably pre-COVID. I would say we lost a bunch in like the 2010, 2012 economic downturn, and maybe one here or there. Obviously, things go when we add the financial literacy, the computer science, things like that. But it's also, we just don't have the teachers to teach them. And that's not even filling staff. If you've got 13 English teachers and you need 70 courses of just English 1, 2, 3, 4 and the AP, that leaves you 6 electives courses, somewhere around there, to do all the journalisms, yearbook, photojournalisms, creative writing, writing about film. The more electives you offer, the more staff you have to offer them. But probably we lost some by attrition and some around the 12 economic downturn.
So the date 2012, over 10 years of missing electives.
No,
So we're saying-
well, not missing as much, but the last time I remember large-scale cuts to things, which is usually either staff or program, would have been right around after the 08 housing crisis and the ARA money, which is also when we built the renovation to the high school. I can remember what was probably around that, like 12 to 15 range. We were at the board every budget meeting we may be talking about special ed, transportation, full day K. It was that kind of economic environment. And you only have a certain amount of ways to reduce expenditures in the school district.
I have a course-related question, but very different. And I believe Mr. Baxter touched on this before, having to do with the DCIU and the tech school. And it could just be that this is something that wouldn't be offered at our high school. It would be offered more at a technical location. But I believe next year, school districts in Pennsylvania can start offering like apprenticeship and training programs to encourage students to become teachers. So are we looking to do anything like that in-house in the future? And especially because in the state of Pennsylvania, only 7% of teachers are of color. And we obviously have a low percent of male teachers as well. So since we are a district with a large minority population, is there anything that we are doing or putting into plan or action to encourage more of our students and young men and women to become teachers? Because maybe in 10 years that could help a lot with the staffing crisis in this area.
Currently, no. Should we be? Yes. And part of that goes back to Ms. Washington's question. Okay, we are. Sorry. Oh, Right.
We have a program with Leanne, that's why her hand's raised. And I'll let you talk about that one, but I'll talk about when we met with DCCC, that was part of it. They have the teacher program, and as well as other apprenticeships in manufacturing, electrician, all of those things. So we talked to them about that, and that's why they took the survey to see what students are interested in what. But we currently have a program that we're trying.
Educators Academy. We tried to get off the ground. Mrs. Perry and Mrs. Howard very kindly shared it on social media. We put it on all of our parent pages. We had Global Connect. We put it on our webpage. We got zero interest. They would only take 9th and 10th grade students with the idea that they would be in this Future Educators Academy, go into the trade school and then into a college or university that offer teaching, and we could not find any students who were interested.
Yeah,
And we did promote it, and I thank you both for helping.
yeah. And
My apologies for that part. I will also tell you, which is where I was going in the beginning, child development's one of the electives we lost over the years.
Well, so then one more point. I actually was in a meeting with the last acting Secretary of Education last week, and he shared a very interesting fact. In the state of Pennsylvania, by 3rd grade, most young white girls see teaching as a career pathway. But young boys, and specifically students of color, don't really see that as an option while they're in elementary and middle school. So since we were not able to get interest at the high school, so could we possibly look into what we can do at the younger grades to encourage children to be interested in this career in the future?
Does that work for your program, or does it have to be high school?
It has to be 9th and 10th graders. I mean, I think it's something we try to incorporate internally, getting into the middle school, promoting it, maybe even having a partnership with like DCS, the K Center, where they go over and mentor the teacher learners. We can do it internally, but it wouldn't work with the teacher.
I have a question. How long was this promoted for? How long?
Yeah, almost a month, couple weeks. As soon as I got the information, we rolled it out, and when the deadline hit and we didn't get any interest, we stopped advertising for it. But we even tried to say, if you're interested in working security at the high school or in any elementary school, if you want to be a school counselor, a psychologist, any position within a school district, I can take you to this Future Educators Academy. It's zero. Get out of the building, we get you a breakfast. We're really trying to sell it, but it was hard getting anybody interest. But it was also the first year in the county they tried to do this. So we're hoping moving forward, if we start, now that we know what's going to happen next year, advertise a little sooner and maybe get some of the people in. I've also reached out to some of the 8th grade teachers to see if anybody was interested in becoming a teacher, so we can start that groundwork now. So it's been difficult, just to be transparent. We haven't had that interest, but I think we also have to learn how to maybe advertise how teachers feel me.
Well, so Ms. Hudson, thank you so much for that. And I meant more, I would love to get more people interested in that program, but I meant different things that would just maybe put the idea in kids' heads. So for example, when I was a 8th grade student, we actually did a project called Before, During, and After, where we had to do a lesson plan, and we were actually taken back to our elementary school to teach a class for the day. And if I'm being honest, that is exactly what made me want to be a teacher. So I'm thinking more of a smaller scale, maybe assisting our teachers with coming up with lesson plans like that, just to let young students know that teaching is an amazing profession to consider once you get into high school.
Dr. Can we turn that, maybe incorporate that in with the career fair?
So I was going to bring that up. So next month, the board's going to be shown a draft of the state guidance plan, which is very career heavy. Now, they don't limit it to one career over another, but we can certainly tailor lessons to careers that we think our kids would benefit from.
I just feel like if we have 7th and 8th graders doing projects that would be similar to what a teacher would do, they might consider that educators program once they get to 9th and 10th grade. So, but thank you guys for giving me that time.
I would have loved to have known about that. I don't remember receiving an email about it. I'm not going to done my due diligence in sharing with the community also. So for the next one, could we I don't know if the rest of the board was aware either. I wasn't aware about the program. So for the next one, it takes a village for the rest of us. So for the rest of us, I didn't receive the email, and I'm not the only one. So for the next time, can we just all get it?
I shared it with, I didn't mean to disclose anybody. We shared it with people who had the parent pages. We were trying to get it out to all the parent pages on the different social media. So that was who I reached out to, not necessarily for them. So moving forward, we get another opportunity. Okay.
Last thing for me is the Knowledge Points contract. We did bring this up in November. If you remember from that discussion, Knowledge Points is our after-school daycare, before and after-school daycare provider. Originally, the contract that was given to them was for 3 years and covered the last 3 school years, this one being the third. However, with the district closed the 1 year, they were only able to provide the service for 2 of the 3 years. In my opinion, and Bob, you can chime in if I'm wrong, one of 2 things needs to happen. Either we need to do the RFP process and go another round for either the same provider or new provider, or you need to make a decision to extend or honor the original intent of the original vote, which was the 3 years of service. I don't know if, Bob, one avenue is clearer than the other, but it's the fact that we were shut down for the year that's causing this to come up. Technically, it's done by year, but there weren't 3 years of service.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
I didn't have a question, I was just putting it in your direction.
Well, I can review the paperwork. I mean, do we have a contract that I can review?
Yes, from the first original
Yeah.
vote, which was 2020, I believe.
Yeah, let's review that.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
still a question?
I have a question. For Knowledge Points, who responds to parents' inquiries
From them or from us?
from Knowledge Points?
So the 2 people that I talk to the most are Dave Martin, who is the owner CEO, might not be his exact title, and his subordinate is Keith. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Bocain. Most of the Knowledge Points communication to the district, at least to me, comes through one of those 2 people.
Because I'm still waiting for a phone call since
Okay.
August.
So my question is, I know a lot of, the year we were closed 100% for the full school year, I do know a lot of Southeast Delco students attended local childcares and took their laptops or iPads to the childcares for learning. So during that virtual year, which would have been the first year of Knowledge Points contract, how many Southeast Delco students did they support while learning virtually?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can ask them. I have no idea what that number is. You're talking about the 2021 school year, the closure year.
No, we were 2020 to 2021 was the year we were 100% for the whole school year, right, closed? Yeah, so my question, not really March to June, because a lot of daycares were closed March to June 2020, yeah. So I'm curious, how many children did they allow to come to one of their locations to learn virtually because those students' parents still had to work?
I will ask them. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Doc, you got the rest?
Okay. It is time for us to begin looking at our 23-24 school calendar. And just some things I want you to look at quickly. As we are considering our calendar for the 23-24 year, we have been traditionally looking at an after Labor Day start. We have to take in consideration summer school 2024. We know that when our school year runs too late during the year, then there's no turnaround for the teachers or the students for summer school. And it was harder for us to get teachers to teach summer school when it was that not even a day or two break. So we need to consider that. We have to consider our federal holidays. We have to consider professional development, our parent conferences, elections. We know we did try the 1 year to have our teachers on campus while the election was going on, but the students off. And at one of the schools, it was a issue, so we need to consider that. We have to consider our state testing, what we're going to do about snow days, as well as flexible instructional days. So the timeline is the first submission to the board at our February Committee of the Whole. Then we will post it on the website for public comment that very next morning, which is February 17th. And then the public will get a reminder from us the night after our board meeting on February 23rd. And then we will have an adjustment period from the February 17th through March 17th will be the time that it is posted. We can get comments from the community, our teaching staff, our families, as well as the board. And we'll make some adjustments. And then the board vote is for March 23rd. And our submission is due to the Department of Ed April 28th. So we try to be done at least a month ahead of time so that we can make sure we submit that. So we just want to give you a heads up that that's up and coming for February. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Yes.
How will the public be able to comment? Would it be via email or website, or how are they expected to comment?
So normally what we do, which is what we did with our proposal for RFP, as well as for the comprehensive plan, Mr. Kitchen makes an email just for that, and then have it sent to the person that's the chair of whatever it is. That way it doesn't get put in with all your other emails of the day. That's just, everybody okay? That way it's coming directly to you for that, from that email, so that none get missed.
So they're just responding to an email that has the information on it?
Well, they're going to the website and sending, they can push the link and
Okay.
email, like we did for the comprehensive plan.
I have two questions, but they're both, I think, related to PA school codes. So, is there anything on days where we are sharing the building, for example, on election day? Is there anything that would prevent us from that being a virtual professional development day? And also for snow days or other inclement weather, has there been any recent changes that we wouldn't be able to offer virtual learning and still count that as a school day to kind of try to squeeze some more days into the calendar?
So the first one we already do. We already do virtual days for our November and our May days. But we tried to do PD in the building, and that's what didn't work. Some of the voters weren't kind to some of the teaching staff.
So my question is there anything that would allow us
So we still
to prevent us from doing it virtually?
No, that's what
Okay.
we've been doing the last couple of years. Far as snow days and inclement weather days, I was just in a meeting yesterday with our Plus caucus, as well as in a meeting Friday with the superintendents. And that's one of the things that we've been discussing, because right now the EIT, which was like extra instructional time, where because of the pandemic, we were able to do the virtual days and count them. There's some changes coming down the pike. And so one of the things we were talking about yesterday was waiting for the governor to roll out his budget and then start having some conversations about we don't want this taken away because it runs out after this year. So we have one filled in for this year, but this is the last year we can do that. So we're planning to lobby to hope that we can still have that.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions about the calendar? Okay, so this will be up and running starting in February for comments and questions. And the next thing is the update for Academy Park. Okay, so this is the staffing. I kept pretty much the PowerPoint from before and just updated it to build upon it. In speaking to Mr. Vogt, we did have only one change in the calendar thus far, and that was for November. There was an additional person added. I talked to him right before this meeting, so there was an additional person hired, which would then add just one more number, which is for November. Everything else remained the same. Of course, January is not over, so in our February meeting, we will have some more with that. I do have information about the counselor and the assistant principal in a later slide. Next, for our student council, we know that Mr. Vogt was supposed to have his first meeting. That meeting happened January the 10th. The things on the agenda were the fundraisers, and they did discuss 5 different fundraisers, and skating, senior sweats, me and my guy dance, me and my gal movie night, mom and dad night out, and they're looking at these. Some of them actually have dates already planned, like me and my guy is for February, and me and my gal for April. Others are to be determined. Also, they had a discussion about building funds, provide transportation for field trips to help cut the costs of field trips. They talked about assemblies, and they're interested in motivational speakers, which they still have to continue to flesh out, as well as have a talent show. Some celebration ideas that they came up with was one about the attendance celebrations, which is in line with our comprehensive plan, something that all of the schools are doing. I've already been able to attend one at Darby Township. They had the discussion with me as well as with Mr. Vogt about our CTE students that are in the AM and PM, that when they are having assemblies or celebrations, some of those students are missed if if they have it in the AM or they have it in the PM. So one of the things the school discussed doing was having like a part 2 to get the students that have been missed. So they would rotate the assemblies. For the bathroom cleanliness, they have the 2 custodians. One is the custodian that is usually there, and the other is majority of there. He's not really being pulled. He's only pulled if another school is down. So that's he's pretty stationary there. And then they had an open forum discussion about the banners in the gym not being updated. So the high school will be working together for that. That would require getting some sponsors and things like that. So that was what the student council did, and they're having a meeting each marking period, and then or quarterly, so each marking period, and then Mr. Vogt will provide me with information as they go. Any questions?
Yes, Dr. Winder.
Yes, ma'am.
One second. Before we move on to the presentation, I know that the Vice President, Don Crawley, was supposed to be doing partnerships with organizations around here. So has that continued? And if it has she got any sponsorship to replace like the banners and stuff like that?
So we were meeting and we're scheduled to have a mixer. It's on my other calendar that's not in here, but like in March. And then we can ask for that. The last thing that we did was get some students some part-time jobs. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry. So with the bathrooms, before I ask my question, I would like to have a copy of this, because I don't have no copy
Oh, they right here. Oh, no, I sent the email version, but here copies.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, I made 30. Look, I made 30. I was gonna so some of the people in the audience can have some.
So, okay,
Some people know. Thank you.
mhm.
You can ask your question.
Okay. So, as far as the bathroom is concerned, not only with you guys met with student councils, you also had parents who have been complaining about these bathrooms. And when I went to Academy Park, not only the bathrooms was disgusting, it just seemed like the building itself is not clean. Now, okay, let me get to my notes. Service, we are using Service Master?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we are paying them 2.4 million?
That was Mr. Butler. Thought it was $1 million.
2.4 per year?
That's what I was told at, in the, office, that it was 2.4, million.
High school?
Yeah, the high school. Well, anyway, the high school that whole school is filthy. It's absolutely filthy. Okay, but I'm telling you, high school is worse. It's filthy. I went into the bathroom. The kids cannot use the bathroom because the toilets don't flush. Then if they go to the third floor, they are suspended because they want to find a decent bathroom to use. The floors look like in the bathroom has not been not only swept but mopped for a very long time. The walls is horrible. The locker rooms are horrible. The floors in the hallway, I don't understand how some of the administrators that goes to that building and they don't see it. I just don't understand it. That really bothers me. And I don't understand how you expect these kids to learn from a dirty facility. It's ridiculous. So I just want to know, what is it that Service Master is doing? Whether they're getting 2.4 million or they get $2.4, they're not doing absolutely nothing.
So, Mr. Curry, talk about your walkthroughs.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Off the first student council that some of these items were brought to my attention, some of the things, well, I met with Service Master and I also met with all of our custodians. We use a standard to grade what our buildings and facilities look like on a daily basis. So I have our custodians checking the buildings twice a week, reporting back to me through work orders or emails or corresponding. I take several visits out during the week in the morning after things have been cleaned and addressed. At the high school, our lead custodian, along with the Service Master supervisor, takes 3 tours of the bathrooms per day to make sure things are orderly in the building. We also brought on a cleaner at 12 o'clock during the day to assist in if there's any issues in the bathrooms. We had an increase off the first student council meeting with vandalism, broken dispensers. So if our lead custodian went into those bathrooms, it took him time to make repairs or shut the bathroom down. We brought on, like I said, a cleaner that if they needed to get in there. I talked to Mr. Vogt. It's difficult to shut down some of the bathrooms near the lunchrooms because it causes too much of a chaos for kids to use a bathroom if we're in the middle of cleaning them. So also for games and events at night, we also are bringing on service master later to make sure that the gyms and locker rooms are addressed. So this is something that I've taken serious to get into the buildings. We had some really good walkthroughs. There's some smaller items that we're addressing. Like I said, I'm in communication with a lot of the principals when I do see something, asking for feedback and assistance for us to rectify issues. And I am in touch with Dr. Winder on these matters, principals, and Mr. Butler. So we've all made strides to get out to the buildings to see what's going on, and that's some of the updates I have now.
Okay, I don't know what building you was walking through or checking. I'm not trying to be funny at all whatsoever, but I'm trying to be serious because we have children that not only they have trouble at home, and they come to a school that is not even being safe. I mean, that's not even clean. And then when they go into this bathroom, I went into the girls' bathroom and I asked the girls, "Why don't you flush the toilet?" They tell me it doesn't flush. So they go into the bathroom constantly from the same nasty toilet. I don't understand how anyone from the administration do not see this. It's disgusting. The hallway, the classrooms, I mean, the refrigerators, the floors, the walls, even the elevators. Okay, it's really ridiculous. And we are expecting our kids to learn in a facility like this, and we wonder why they are fighting all the time. We wonder why their behaviors are bad. This is ridiculous. Something has to be done about this. Then when the students tell me that if they go to the third floor, they get suspended. What? Because they want to use a clean bathroom? That's not right. That is not right. I am going to continue to check this building because this building is ridiculous. And you're right, there are other buildings are just as bad. I mean, that are bad, but high school is ridiculous. So I'm asking the administrators, if you're in charge, to check more of what is going on. Because service master is not doing their job. And if we have to let them go and find somebody else, that's what we need to do. Because these kids should not have to come to this school to face another day to look at that nasty toilet. That's ridiculous. And please, I hope we should not hold these kids accountable anymore because they want to use a clean bathroom and we're going to suspend them. For what? That's not fair. So I'm just going to have to just keep on top of this because I'm not satisfied with this at all. I wouldn't have my dog to come in here, not only use the bathroom, but to walk the halls too. It's sad.
Excuse me, Ms. Woodford, can I say something? So we're not just talking about Canyon Park, we're talking about all
the schools. I was just stressing.
But even at the Nice Academy, there's another person who cleans Night Academy that's not even service master, don't even work for him.
What? Okay.
So I'm not really clear. Maybe we should bring that contract back so we can look at it because I know that it is a clause in there that says it renews. So maybe we should the board, well, you know what? It's just a suggestion. I suggest that the board revisits that contract because I don't know if it's going to automatically renew itself again.
I have a question.
I think the board need to walk their hallways and see what's going on.
Excuse me, Ms. Woodford.
That's what they need to do.
I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for the other 8 board members. I walk the buildings. I've been in multiple buildings where even the staff bathroom is nasty, where there's been animals stuck on the floor for months. So I know they didn't clean it. And I've taken pictures because I don't want nobody to think that, hey, Miss Monroe's just making this stuff up. So I'm really, really unclear.
I have a question. If you guys saw this, you didn't notify the board, you took pictures? You didn't-
Wait a minute, let me be clear. When was my first email? October what?
I'm talking about the pictures.
October 5th. It was in my long email. That's why we had the Mercy meeting at Academy Park.
I was talking about the pictures.
The pictures? Oh, no. I didn't send it to the board because the email I sent, I would think that if an adult tells me a building's clean, not clean, I would assume that why would she make up a building that's not clean? That is dirty. That's just me.
I've been in the building. I mean, that's perspective. I have a question about the student council. Did you guys reach out to any of the alumni of Academy Park for student council? Is that a part of the conversation? Like the alumni? No, we initially were talking about student council, so I was going back to that.
I'll take a look at the plumbing work orders and,
Thank
thank you.
Yes, please.
Mr. Curry, before you leave.
I have a question.
I do
You can
too.
go, you can go first.
In terms of like working facilities, right? Can you get us a report in terms of what facilities are not properly working so that we're aware?
As far as just work orders or plumbing or,
Yes, plumbing. I'm referring to Ms. Woodfolk's comment regarding the broken toilets and things like that. That's really important. So,
absolutely, yes, I will look
Okay.
into that right away.
have you noticed? You're director of facilities, right?
Yes.
Have you noticed any plumbing problems that we need to take care of?
Yeah, we bring in, well, currently we don't have a plumber, but we outsource some of our work to our lead custodian on a daily basis if need be to go look at problems. I think we had a gentleman come out to this morning or yesterday over to Knights Academy because there was a plumbing issue that was brought to my attention. We got on it right away.
Okay.
Like you said, some of the work orders, if they're not a high priority, they might sit. We'll schedule an outside plumber to come in. Again, yesterday at the kindergarten center, I called in a plumbing vendor to clear a line. So those things happen. Daily work orders come in
Right,
daily. That's
right.
stuff that I look at and I get out to buildings. If it's a high priority or immediate concern, I'm out at these buildings 3 days a week at least. I'm there first thing in the morning looking at
Right.
cleaning items.
Right, I understand where you're coming from, but my thing is that these parents has been complaining since September. Oh, I thought it was September, but okay, October. They have been complaining about their kids complaining to them about the facilities. So now that I am checking the facilities, especially, and when I say Academy Park, I'm sorry, what the Academy Park was just outrageous. And I'm just hoping that we stay on top of this because I know you're doing the best that you can. But tell us what it is that you need from us so you can get this work done.
Well,
That
I
was my
know
next
since the high school climate has improved some, I've noticed that some of the vandalism has stopped in some of the bathrooms. So we are starting to head in the right direction, in my opinion.
Okay.
While I'm at the high school, like I said, this season now, we're starting to get a lot more basketball games, wrestling matches, so that's kind of taken away from some of the other duties. So I'm looking to add on our custodians to assist for those games, things like that. We're trying to limit food in that area so we're not, heavy cleaning up after some of the games so we can get to other areas. Like I said, I have the supervisor at Service Master helping out in the morning to make sure that those facilities, the locker rooms, the bathrooms are well kept. Things are getting fixed in a timely fashion.
Right.
It's an active building, so things are constantly coming our way. I mean, last month, a couple weeks ago, I went to every building, reviewed all of the communication logbooks that are in every building.
Right.
All of the buildings, issues that staffs can write are down. So I believe we're actually heading in the right direction. We've put a lot of investments into the right supplies, paying people on making sure we're getting the hours on the weekends to get caught up on some of the things that you might see during a week. And like I said, all of our custodians have the standards that we grade, where we're at cleanliness, and we're always trying to strive to improve our conditions. So some buildings are challenging. I communicate with the principals, Dr. Winder, Mr. Butler, whoever wants to hear it. I'm in the buildings checking for these things on a daily basis, and I will continue to do so.
I have a question. Was there a work order put in for the stage at Academy Park? But I believe the musical theater was having they weren't able to practice because
Correct.
something
Yeah,
happened on the stage.
That was
I was wondering if the
completed.
work
That
order
was
went in.
completed. We were confirming that we had no leaks. We
Okay.
had 5 stories of scaffolding installed, so the stage was off limits.
Right.
That's repaired. The scaffolding comes down tomorrow, and we should be able to use it for this weekend. So there's a perfect
Okay.
example of a major plumbing issue. Got on a call right away to a vendor,
Mm-hmm.
came out, made a timely repair, and we'll be back up and running.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Can we
I
get- one
just
second, can I-
wanted to know that if you need extra help, whatever you need, can you just bring it to the board and we can work together or work with you so we can get this work done and so the all the buildings can be properly cleaned if you.
I will put something together, show the initiatives that we're doing to ensure that we're holding our vendor accountable.
Okay.
That my staff supporting as best we can, and I'll let you know, when we're out there. But I mean, I'm visible out there. I'm out there on a daily basis.
Do you need more workers?
I would have to look at how our custodians are getting more involved with that process rather than coming down. Like I said, we're just trying. It takes all hands on deck to keep these facilities spotless in the way that they should be. I've been in the education business for a very long time,
Right.
so you can have the best cleaners, but if people in the building aren't keeping it up, it's very difficult. So it really takes everybody working together. We're getting that in buildings, and we're making improvements and going in the right direction.
So
I have one more
is it
question.
true? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, twofold questions. Service master. You're saying that there's one service master employee in the Academy Park building? Or is it one? How
No,
many?
there's a supervisor that's there. They have, I don't know offhand how many cleaners per se, because some of the cleaners were kind of like somewhat part-time, or they split their time up a little bit. Or now we're bringing in a cleaner, and we adjusted some hours to get more coverage during the day. And then we have to bring back people at night to cover some of these large events and games we're having. So it kind of fluctuates on the usage and, where we're at in the building. So, it kind of ebbs and flows.
Is there a limitation on service masters employees being in buildings?
Yeah, we, in the contract, there's hours that we should be allotting to buildings. We might run into call outs and some things like that. I am in communication with the supervisor pretty much on a daily basis to make sure that, hey, he might say we were short a person or two. We're bringing them in on the weekends to like make up for certain things. Cause like I said, they get call outs and things like that as well.
And does service master do power washing?
They have a lot of things at their disposal for,
So can we get Academy Park's bleachers inside the school power wash? When I was at the game, I refused to sit on them. I'm just not sitting on no dirty bleachers.
Yeah, well, like I said, we'll kind of ramp up the detail cleaning in the bleachers.
Yeah,
We're getting a lot of food and things being brought into the gyms.
But it's salt on the bleachers, and there's no snow outside.
So
Yeah, like from whenever it snowed, and they had a game or whatever, the salt is still stained in the bleachers.
okay.
So can we get
We'll
that
take-
power
we'll-
wash as soon as possible?
We'll take
Because
a
if we
look.
have wrestling matches, we have basketball games in there. There are other schools coming over here.
Whatever we need to do to get that stuff.
Thank
we'll
you.
get it done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hold on, Mr. Curry.
So I'll be a
couple more
little,
things.
I'll be a little
Hey,
easier. So I have some questions about the cleanliness, but really, I believe only one would be in your wheelhouse. I think the other one would be for the high school administration. So service master cleans after the building's closed, right? So if you make your rounds in the morning and the building's fairly clean, but then say halfway through the day, that's not the same case. Now, was that service master's responsibility or a school district employee? Like a service master
that-
in the building during the day?
It's limited. I think we brought someone in over at Darby Township because at one point in time we were having some vandalism and bathroom issues. So I believe we were able to bring in someone earlier during the day at that particular building for that particular need. We also did the same thing at Academy Park for the bathrooms, things like that. We also, can you rephrase that again, please? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just thinking like, so if you went there 7:30 in the morning and the bathrooms are clean. But then after second block, they're not clean.
I'm sorry, yeah. So we have a custodian typically at the building that, works the lunches and stuff like that. But if it's ever communicated to me that they have like a cleaning issue or some classrooms or something they have to go to, like we would circumvent the grounds department to come over, cover the duties there and have our custodian kind of, in these rooms and stuff like that. I don't know how well building issues are getting communicated to some of our custodians during the day, and that's something I'm gonna kind of like reevaluate.
Okay.
Because, I believe so, but I think that's somewhere where we can improve the communication between the building, and making sure that, we do have guys available to go handle stuff. I know at 2 schools I went out and purchased, dustpan and brooms just to help, the teachers and students kind of keep up on their rooms during the day. So, certain buildings have kind of like their own little niche of issues that, again, I'm communication with all the, administrators here. I'm working with them, letting them know what I'm finding, letting them know what the next steps to do and trying to improve. And we definitely made some improvements and we can make some more. And, I'm constantly in communication with the building administrators and our custodians to make sure that we're going in that direction.
Okay, and just a point of clarity, because some board members had a question. You did just say one custodian that's a school district employee during the day at Academy Park?
We have 2.
Okay.
We created a lead custodian position and we have a custodian during the day. Our lead custodian has more of ability to make repairs and, things like that. We had some vacancies throughout the district where we might needed him to go over to Knights Academy to handle a plumbing issue because, maybe we don't have a plumber or a carpenter's out. So that gives us a little flexibility. So that's some of the things we were using our lead custodian for, not as much now because we got caught up. But that's one of the things that we brought to our thing as we needed, and it was approved last year. So that's some of the things we've done to help our services.
Okay, and my other questions I do believe would be for the administrators, so I think we can give you a break. Right. Thank you, Mr. Curry. So my first question would be about the comment Ms. Woodfolk had about the 3rd floor bathroom. So if a student is on one floor and goes to another floor to use a bathroom, is that considered an out of area infraction? Yes. And they get suspended, okay.
Hold on, can we bring Dr. Ryan back to the podium, please?
Mr. Vogt.
So
if they have a pass to go to the bathroom, they can go to any bathroom in the building?
Excuse me, let's not yell across the room. Can we invite Mr. Vogt to the podium, please?
So, Ms. Perry, I can answer your question. It's out of bounds and suspension immediately.
Well, Mr. Vogt.
We prefer, obviously, if students, for example, are in the cafeteria, we prefer them to use the closest bathroom. As long as students have a pass, they are not considered out of area. So if a student leaves a classroom and has a teacher pass, and say they're on the 2nd floor and the bathroom is closed, maybe it's being cleaned, or there's an issue in the bathroom and the bathroom is closed, or it's dirty, they feel it's dirty, they can go to the 3rd floor as long as they have a pass. They are not considered out of area.
So for students, it's probably not a good idea if they're in between classes to try to run to another floor to use the bathroom. And then they should go to their block and ask a teacher to use the bathroom. But if it's my understanding that the current high school rule is they're not allowed to use the bathroom in the first 10 minutes of each block, correct?
We close the bathrooms first 10 minutes through the 4-minute transition, and then the 10 minutes into the first block. The reason we do that is students do communicate using social media. If they want to fight or whatever, then they all go to a bathroom, and then there's a major issue. So we do that for the security of our students.
And my other question had to do with the games and the bleachers that Ms. Monroe-Whitsett mentioned. And I'm just asking if this is a possibility. I do not know, but this is from my experience at both the Collingdale Athletic Club and also volunteering in the school district's musical program. There's a big emphasis on this with the students and the children involved in those programs that this space belongs to you. So after musical rehearsal, there is a very big push for the children to clean up the auditorium because this space belongs to you. You want to care for it. Same with the Collingdale Athletic Club gym. The players and their parents and their families actually stay after the games to clean up. We would work as a team, me, my son, the former Collingdale Athletic Club president, we would all stay behind and help clean up, and we wouldn't leave it up to that one person that was working for Collingdale Borough. So are we able to maybe try to work with the students and really encourage them and tell them that gym belongs to you. You want it to be clean, and maybe work with the coaches to have a couple student volunteers after each game to clean up that food, trash and such, so maintenance isn't bogged down with things like that, because we shouldn't be littering and leaving our trash behind anyway, but we know that people do it. So I just, if we could make it like a team effort, I think it would help a little bit more, and it might give the kids a little bit more pride in their gym.
And there is no food or drink permitted in the,
There's not in Collingdale either, but they bring it in.
I
So.
just want to piggyback off of Ms. Perry. Delcroft did something similar, but they involved the local Fallcroft Police Department, and the kids took pride in cleaning out the outside area, and it was nice, and it worked for a while. So something like that, I am in agreement with.
great. Thank you.
I did too. Okay, safe corridors. We had launched the RFP process. Then site visits were available, and you were waiting for us to receive the financial proposal. They gave us a financial proposal, but it was after our board meeting, so we had to change the date a little bit. They gave it to us for starting like December something, but we didn't have everything together for the board meeting. So the soonest that we would be able to start it would be January 30th after our board meeting next week. They proposed having 25 team members, $25 an hour, 7-hour day, $175 a person, $100 a day for the administration fee, which was going to be about $4,475 per day. From January 30th to June 13th is a total of 88 school days. So we're looking at approximately $393,800. You will see this on the agenda next week for a board vote.
Dr. Winder,
Yes.
Since the public doesn't have copies of the proposal we received, could you maybe elaborate on what those 25 team members would cover?
Yeah. They would support arrival support, which would be there at the doors when they're opening, and helping to get the students in with a flow into the building. They said they would do parking lot traffic direction, support in the breakfast, and after breakfast, and then they would be in the hallway coverages, staircases, and bathroom suites during the school operational day. They would do the cafeteria coverage. Yeah, I'm just trying not to be redundantly. Okay, approximately 300 students per lunch period. They talked about ISS room coverage. However, our ISS right now is in the auditorium. So they said they could provide some coverage for that. Auditorium coverage, but they cannot process student referrals. Although they put that on there, you have to be an administrator for that piece of it. They would be out in the halls for transitions. And then they would support the dismissal, being at each of the exits to usher students out of the building and off campus, assist in the boys' locker rooms, if extra hands or support is needed, ushering students off campus, making sure students are not in the hallway. This is in dismissal time, getting them off the property, and communicate and assist with incidents inside or out of the building. And yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything.
Thank you so much, Dr. Winder.
Go. Okay.
I have a
Next,
question about safe corridors.
okay.
Have you, for the 25 team members, have you received copies of like clearances or anything? Do you have any information about, because,
They wouldn't provide that. They know they have to have it. They
Okay.
wouldn't provide that unless you all voted to move forward with the contract. Yeah, they wouldn't give us any information ahead of time.
okay.
I'm sorry, Madam President, what did you just ask her?
So for
Clearance.
the safe corridors regarding the safe corridors,
Right.
the contract that they submitted. My question was for the 25 team members, had the district received any copies of clearances? Or, so we have, background checks and things like that yet?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other safe corridors? Yes,
Oh, no.
Cynthia? Okay.
I did have a question about, security officers.
Oh, that's coming up. Yeah, okay. Assistant principal, we know we were granted another assistant principal. That position was posted the day after the board meeting. Interviews were scheduled last week for first round on Wednesday and Thursday afternoon. And then we are going to have second round interviews tomorrow. Friday afternoon. And then we're hoping to be able to bring a candidate to the board for next week. We're hoping to have placed our final candidate on the board agenda. I'd spoken to Mr. Vogt and had him, share with me the plan for the assistant principal. And he said for this year, he would like to have the new person do student discipline, as well as special education student performance measures support, then support special education teachers, supervise the paraprofessionals, which includes the documentation in the time clock, and then because it's mid-year, and then he would like to, in the following school year, 23-24, go to the 1 AP per grade level model and let the APs loop with their cohort.
Can I ask a quick question about the grade level? And I think I know the answer. So it wouldn't be a principal that's like, you have the freshmen every single year. You would
No,
move
go
up
with
with
them.
the kids,
Move
right?
up.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay? Any other questions about assistant principal? Okay, the school counselors, we had 2 positions were granted. The positions were posted in December. There were a set of interviews on the 12th. There was a candidate that accepted but then declined. And then another round is scheduled when applicants apply, so they will continue to interview as candidates are available. And then Dr. Ryan had some discussion with them about the expectations. And so pretty much they're looking for this year to have all 5 of them spread the duties. And then in the next school year, go to 1 counselor per AP, assistant principal, and then the other one would focus on all of the career things. But the goal now is to get them hired, get them trained, and move through to complete this year. With the 5 counselor, that puts the student ratio approximately 1 counselor for every 250 students. Question about the counselor?
I have a question. This is, now, I understand that we, on December the 15th, we had approved a, what you call that? I can't even find it in my notes. Administration. What did we? No, December the 15th, the board approved at the board business. And we approved a lady for supplement. And is she the one that you offered her the position for counseling? I mean, at the counselor?
That'll have to be Mr. Baxter. I didn't sit in on those interviews.
Okay, well, I'll talk to him.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
Yep.
One question about the counselors. Based on like the mental health needs of some of our students, I understand some of the counselors have to have a special certification. Are we also asking that they are licensed clinical social workers, or do the social workers have a different category?
The social workers are
Right.
different.
Okay, thank you.
Question, so is there a counselor at Night Academy yet?
There's one that has accepted the position. Mr. Baxter would have to tell you when she
Okay,
starts.
I'll wait for Mr. Baxter.
Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna turn it off.
Okay. Security officers, we had the additional 2.5 positions needed to be hired. And they were posted again in December. Interviews occurred on 1/5. I'm not sure, were you all successful? Did you get a candidate from the 1/5? No.
From one, interview again,
Okay.
so two candidates that are providing references for that.
Okay, and so they are doing a good job with continuously, as they get candidates in all of our positions, setting up more interviews. And then we talked to you about the 4 substitute security officers from Cardinal for coverages. That contract will be on the agenda for a board vote. One of the things I asked them to do was to share with me if we are able to get all these positions filled, where will people be? So for arrival, we're having, there's gonna be 5 people, 6 people, counting the SRO and the school police officers at the front entrance, 3 at the rear entrance, and 1 at the breakfast lunchroom. And then for dismissal, you're seeing that there's 12, counting the officer, and in security that would be deployed out throughout the building to move people out for dismissal. For the school day, you'll see that there are a variety of assignments where everyone should be, with 1 security officer in the booth at all time, because that is your control center. As you go on, lunch duty, as we know, is our toughest time of the day throughout the school. So the plan has been devised on what to do with the lunch shifts, and you see that there will be numerous, 3 in the lunchroom, along with the police officer. And then you'll have 1 covering the bathroom, hallway, and outside lunchroom, 1 in the locker room, 1 of the SRO and C wing, an officer in the booth, 2 officers on the 2nd floor, and 2 officers on the 3rd floor. And that pattern would repeat itself for each of the lunch shifts in order to make that work. Now, with the security guards from Cardinal, what it also will allow us to do is, even if we had to pull someone, it would leave plenty of others there, because, for example, right now we have 1 officer who was injured who's not working at all, so that's a building that's not covered. And so thanks to the high school security officers, that some of them are willing to do overtime and go after their shift is over to at least help with the closeout of the day and dismissal. But outside of that, we are now, 1 down. And so this contract will help us, because there are days when there are 2 or 3 officers that might be ill or out for whatever reason. So we're looking to have that completed, and Mr. Rusnoff will talk a little bit more about that in his report. Next, we have our state assessment data from the high school. And pretty much I just did a chart for 2019. Of course, 2020 was the shutdown, 2021, 2022. You'll see the year, the subject, participation is what percent of the students actually took the assessment. Proficiency rate is met that target goal. Growth rate is that they improved. They may not were proficient, but they are growing. So we have to remember that in 2021, other districts phased into brick and mortar school. We remained virtual. Students were allowed to come in during May and June to take the assessment only if their parents felt comfortable. So depending on the school was how many people actually took the assessment. The attendance, if you would look down at the last set of boxes, the attendance for APHS has been less than 60% all 3 years. Attendance is part of our comprehensive plan because not just APHS, but district-wide, our attendance has been low. Those of you that were in our strategic comprehensive plan meeting and we looked at the attendance data for the last 5 years, we have been struggling. So that is one of our goals, and that's one of the reasons why we're having the improved attendance, perfect attendance, celebrations, and data tracking. So when we look at our scores, of course, with 40 or more % of our students not really being on a consistently attendance basis, that's going to impact behavior, scores, and everything else. Yes.
So obviously, many of us are not going to be happy with the numbers from any of those years, and we do know we need to make improvements. But the one that concerns me the most is the 2022 proficiency rate for English. So in your opinion, if you have one, what do you feel would have been contributing factors to cause, because if what I'm seeing, English seems to be the biggest drop. That's a drastic change.
So if you look at participation, you see 20% is what they're reporting that took the test. So one of the things that we encountered last year, 21-22, if you look, it is the lowest attendance of all 3 years. And part of the reason was the students had been home 18 months. And now you wanted them to get up and come to school, and it was a struggle. Our attendance is not hitting a skyrocket this year, but it's at least better because they had to get back into the routine. So when you look at the 20%, only 20% took it, then...
Oh, no, I get it. No, that was my mistake. I'm forgetting Keystones are January. So when I'm thinking 2021 represents the virtual year, but 2022 is what represents the virtual year. Is that correct?
21 is the virtual. 2021 is the virtual. 2022 was last year.
So then, yeah, right. So then my question is then, what may have contributed to only 20%? What would have contributed to such a low participation rate in English then if we were back to school and open?
Right, and so we know that the attendance rate at the high school even last year was pretty low. I know Dr. Ryan keeps a chart on his wall being over attendance and registration. And I mean, there were some days where 200 or 300 students were absent.
Right, but the attendance difference between 2019 and 2022 is less than 4%. But we're talking about a participation rate from 2019 to 2022. That's a much larger difference.
Right, so if they didn't come on the test day, I mean, that's it. They didn't come. According to the data from Future Ready, so our attendance is one of our primary comprehensive goals. I did speak to Mr. Vogt. He assured me that they are doing all of the incentives that we are doing as a district. to improve attendance. I actually have the charts on my desk that you'll get information from next week, where I've collected the data for attendance in every school. Like I said, just DTS. I know for their December celebration, the students got 30 minutes of a dance if they had perfect attendance, and they had about 400 students with perfect attendance for 1 month. So we're just hopeful with the student council giving Mr. Vogt ideas of things for their celebrations. It would help the students to come to school. Also, when students are absent a lot, their behavior declines because it's different being home and then having to come to school and go to classes and sit down and raise your hand when you want to go to the bathroom. All of those things impact how well our students will do throughout. Okay, another question? Okay.
Oh, wait, I wanted to ask a question, or make a suggestion for security officers, at, Academy Park. I would like to suggest to see, more females. Oh, I keep forgetting, I'm sorry. I would like to see more female security officers in Academy Park. You only have one female that goes into the girls' bathroom, so she can't check all the girls' bathroom all at one time. So, I noticed that, so that's why I was suggesting to the board that it should be more female officers, to help out in the Academy Park.
Okay. Okay. Assembly and incentives, and I'm just about to the end here. So Mr. Vogt and his staff, as well as the situation with the student council meeting, they were able to compile some things that they want to do throughout the year. As you can see, the assembly featuring Banky Jefferson, which Mr. and Mrs. Thomas suggested to us. Mr. Vogt would like to have an evening community event to open it up so that parents can be there with their students to hear the talk, as well as any other community member who is in charge. So he has been charged with planning stages for that, selecting a date that will work for all of our schools. He wants to make sure that none of the other schools are having an activity that evening, so that, parents, if they want to bring 7th or 8th graders, they can as well. And so he's in the planning stages for that. So if the planning, or it's going to occur before our next board meeting, then he will email the board so they're able to come to attend. There'll also be an all call, but there's nothing like if you get a flyer in your box, you can kind of make your calendar. So he will take care of that. So if you see, pretty much every month, there are some type of assemblies that are scheduled. The March and May are to be determined. As far as they brainstormed that they wanted motivational speakers, he's looking into who that will be. And then for the celebrations, there are celebrations planned throughout the month, and we know that June is big for our seniors with the prom and graduation. Doesn't mean there won't be other activities for the non-seniors, but we know those are key. So these are things, and as you can see, grade level rewards. Congratulations to our seniors for the month of December. They had the least amount of office referrals, and therefore they had a movie reward. And then each month they're having a grade level behavior reward, and then each marking period attendance awards, and then any other activities that they have planned to help with the school climate and culture. Questions with that? Okay. That's it from me.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is finance.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I have one item to be discussed that's non-voting. I'll start with that. That's in reference to the musical program. So a number of months ago, there was a discussion at one of the meetings, one of the board meetings, where there were concerns expressed about business activities, how they're being handled regarding the music program. So there's the district set of transactions, and then there's an organization that goes by I assume it's an acronym, TOPS. So you have to forgive me, I forgot to find out what TOPS, what the proper name of TOPS
It's the theatrically organized. Is it parent or people? People.
Okay,
It's still a parent group.
got it. Okay, so they're the two organizations. So, of course, the district has oversight of the district transactions, but the district does not have oversight over the TOPS organization transactions. So, as a follow-up to those discussions at the meeting, we, meaning the district, we had a Zoom meeting on Monday, this past Monday, to discuss certain things. And let me just get that. Some of the, oh shoot. There we go. So as a result, or prior to that meeting, there was an email that I had received from the musical department, and it stated that their records showed that they had $19,125.28. The reason why they put that number out there is because on the district records, when this was originally talked about, the district account had a negative $26,974.03. So my response to that email was that so that the musical program was not compromised, to go ahead and proceed, but it would be important that we meet because I was not agreeing at that time with the $19,125. The following reports were submitted. I received annual reports from the musical department. And again, I believe it is this is outside of the TOPS. I'm making an assumption, but just let me qualify that. We're going to have, these meetings are going to continue until both parties feel comfortable. But the records that I had originally sent out were covering fiscal years 2014 to 15 through current 22-23, which would have been up through October. There was a request for additional years, so I went back to fiscal year 11-12 and went up through fiscal year 13-14 because they already had the 2014-15 as I had stated earlier. So the discussion was pretty much just there was an opportunity for us to compare records and check off on transactions, what I had on our record, on the district records, and what they had in their records. And there were areas where some of the reconciling items were overlapping, meaning that on their records, they had a transaction posted for June 30th, and I'll say it's a check that was cut, but the check wasn't cut on our records until, I'll say, July 15th. So they were overlapping. So they checked out, but it was just overlapping. So we went through those types of, went over those transactions. The other thing that we talked about is that I had asked a question about how do the deposits align with the performances. The other topic that was discussed, and there was one report that we had to review. That was the 2021 report on their end. That at that time, I did not have that report to review. So it was a productive meeting. And the reason why we went back to the 11-12 year is that the previous administration, there were some emails from the previous administration where there were items such as stage lighting, microphones, rentals, that it was decided that the district was not going to pay for those items. But so they were the items, some of the items that put the account into the red, in a negative balance. We talked about that a little bit. I wanted to get additional information on all the individuals that were involved in the production, just so I could get a better sense on what has happened over these years. So we'll talk about that in the future. The tops, and I'm making an assumption here, I think that their main focus is to do fundraising for the musical. But again, we're two separate organizations, so I can't speak with clarity on what their process is and what they do with the funds from that organization. I will tell you that in the 17-18 fiscal year, the district wrote 2 checks to TOPS. One was for $231.95. The other one was for $924.08. There was one written in 15-16. Again, these checks are being written to TOPS. I have to go back to the archives to find these records to see what those transactions represented. In 15-16, it was a check for $1,228.25. In 22-23, on their records, there was a deposit made in the district account from their organization, and that deposit was, bear with me, it's a little over $4,000. So that item will be talked about as well. I'm sorry, it was $5,428.47. So as I said earlier, we're going to continue these conversations, but the program, in my opinion, has to continue because it involves students and it's a positive situation, performance for the district, so that it will continue. And then we'll talk about how can we have a different discussion about those expenditures that the previous administration said that they were not going to pay for. It was so long ago. I'm most likely going to recommend that the district absorb those costs, and we'll come to a reconciled number. And then moving forward, we'll meet on a quarterly basis and review the reports and the transactions, and then go from there. That is pretty much it.
Mr. Butler, I just have one quick comment.
Sure.
And I guess it's a 2-part question. So my experience when I volunteered with TOPS, now I was never on the board or anything, but when I volunteered with TOPS, and in my understanding that their main focus, and not the only thing they fundraise for, is scholarships that they offer to the children who are in the program for, I think, 4+ years. And then my question about the actual district funds, I guess staffing. Am I correct that there's 5 supplemental positions that cover the musical program? And which one of those supplemental positions are responsible for the funds that go in and out of the program? Is it the producer? Is it the director?
I guess I'm not too sure what their title is.
I think there's a director, a vocal director, a choreographer, a stage crew director, and a producer.
Okay,
Is that Mr. Weber?
Mr. Weber.
Mr. Weber?
So when Mr. Tom Weber, the stage director, and the director is also here, I can answer some of your questions. There's technically 6 positions. There's also a costume director that hasn't been used for several years because the person was volunteering their time to do it. So there's technically 6. And then also the statement when Mr. Butler said that the district was not paying for the lighting and the microphones, and the other one is flying by FOI. I think you meant the district was supposed to be paying for them according to the emails, correct? That's why it went negative. The district was supposed to pay it, not the musical funds. That's why everything went negative for the 2 flying accounts and for the microphone rental the 1 year right after the renovations. None of the new microphones worked. So at the last minute, they had to go out and rent all microphones to do the performance. So that was right after the renovation and none of the new stuff worked. The lighting 1 year, there was major issues. Mr. Nurse can kind of attest for some of that. He's been with the program the whole time. So they had to rent lighting. So that's what the emails were stating, that the district was covering those costs and those funds were not coming out of the musical fund. All those funds came out of the musical fund, which flying's $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 every time you do that. So we asked for that. The board approved it, along with Dr. Butz, went to the board. So it is previous administration. I don't think it's anybody that was here at the current time. So all those emails should refer to the district approved all those, not to come out of our funds. So that's why everything looks negative.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weber. So the one other question I had, and then you just gave me another question. So which supplemental position is responsible for the funds?
Producer.
Okay, wonderful. And then you mentioned for years there was a volunteer costume director, and yes, they were lovely, and you guys are very lucky to have them. So currently, do you have a volunteer costume director? Or are you looking to fill that position?
We do not, and it has been brought to HR's, I don't know if it's been posted yet, for that position.
Okay. I have a musical alumni who may be interested, so once it's posted, if you could let me know, I'd share that information for you.
They asked us if we had anybody in mind too, just last week when they had the meeting, I believe, Matthew English, the director, can speak on the exact timeline.
And I can't make any promises, but if you recall, Mr. Johnny Hires, that was part of your program, he now does fashion and sewing and is kind of following in Fran's footsteps, so I would be happy to share that information with him.
All right, excellent. No, that'd be excellent. And as far as the answer for TOPS, it's discussed, so the reason for fundraising for TOPS is to provide a banquet for the kids, which is done every year. And then it's if they're a participant for 3 years, with their senior year being one of those 3 years, then they're eligible to apply for a scholarship. Doesn't mean they're gonna get it, same as if you apply for any other scholarship. There are criterias, they're all given paperwork. There's a whole committee made up of, of parent volunteers and TOPS members, that anybody can be, asked to be on that committee.
Thank you.
All right, so hopefully that clears up some of it, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I will revisit the emails. I did have a slightly different opinion, but I'll revisit that. But anyway, as I said before, we'll get this straightened out so the program can continue on, and then we'll monitor it on a quarterly basis.
Next up, human resources.
All right, good evening. So we are going to go through the committee of the whole agenda, and we will start on page 2 with our professional employees. So there are 4 individuals that we are ratifying resignation for. Those are individuals that were previously to come aboard, and because of one reason or another, they did not start and or sent the resignation in, so they need to come off of our board records. Under number 2, we are ratifying some classified employees. There are 4 of them. 1 in transportation and instructional aid at Harris School. Again, that individual did not start and needs to come off. And then a food prep and a bus aide. At the bottom of page 3, we're back to professional employees. We are ratifying the employment of 5 individuals in our 1 to 8 buildings, 2 at Darby Township, 2 at Delcroft, and 1 at Harris School. We're also looking to approve professional employees under number 4, 1 at Sharon Hill, 1 at Darby Township, 1 at Knight Academy, and 1 at Academy Park High School. So I know that there was some discussion about the counselor, so we will go ahead and talk about that at this time. So there was, under the resignation of professional staff, that is the individual under number 1 that previously was going to Knight Academy, interviewed for Academy Park, was selected for Academy Park, came on site, did the onboarding, and decided not to go through with the position. So that then opened up both slots at Academy Park again and 1 at Knight Academy. So the person under number 4, the 3rd individual down, is the replacement for Knight Academy for that counselor position. Under number 5, confidential employee, we have hired a benefit secretary in the Human Resource Office. So that has been filled at this time. We are working on training that individual on all of the tasks that need to be handled in that department. At Academy Park High School, we have a secretary to the principal under number 6, under classified employees that we are looking to ratify employment for. Number 7, there's 2 individuals. We are looking to transfer for job title under our classified employee section. And there are 3 leaves of absences that we have coming up in the next few months. 1 at Sharon Hill, and 2 at Delcroft. On page 6, at the top of the page, we have a few more in a different group, classifieds, that are either on or looking to get on leave of absences. Under number 10, we have a school security officer right now that is out on FMLA, unpaid sick leave. Number 11, it is paperwork that has been submitted for a sabbatical leave for one of our teachers at Academy Park High School for next school year, the 2023-24 school year. Number 12 through 15, those are all supplemental mentors that we are looking to have approval for new teachers to our district. And 16 is our after-school enrichment program and or credit recovery. And we're looking to expand some of our employees in that program. On page 7, under the non-voting agenda items, hiring data and strategies being used. And so I am grateful for our administrative teams and department heads who sit in and take a look at the candidates with the Human Resource Department and Ms. Hudson as we are looking at different applicants and looking to fill all of our positions here at Southeast Delco. It is a tireless act and it is very time consuming, especially when you get through the process and individuals back out at the last minute. However, we have been excited that new applicants have put in, and we are refreshing those postings as needed. So if we take a look, some of our strategies that we are doing within the district includes taking advantage of some of our December graduates from some of our local colleges and universities. We have hired different colleges, Westchester, we have Williamsburg, Temple, so we have reached out to Williamsburg, and their students. So there, graduate, previous graduate, which you saw on the page, attractions, so as far as teacher recruitment, well, two different platforms to post. Our main district platform is Talent Ed. Others, some of them more successful than others, but we are at least getting the word out. And one of the things that is also helping us, some of our employees, their experiences, some Delco, does make a difference. Excited. So that is also as far as student teachers, Dr. Brown and myself have been in touch with some of the colleges and universities, get a little bit of interest there, just teachers graduating, employment, district, here. And then we talked a little bit earlier about the media units, educator program, traction, like for it to get this option. Get a earlier jump on that. 7th grade middle school. So talking about that. We can get some substitutes. We talked about this times. How difficult that has been. So primary provider for students. Substitute teacher studies. I have reached out to agencies. So we are casting today. 2 individuals, like both of them. So schools. So it is hit or miss. Some of them are great fits and some of them not so much. So right now, so still job fair attendance really hasn't been that we have wanted to display. Last item, human resource. We had some support specialists. So we had 2 individuals. One individual has this time. We're still working on the assistant this time. We're left with the first floor here. This administration trying to get audited, speed, so the whole system is so that is my report.
Yes, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we have a page on LinkedIn. Are you aware of that?
So on LinkedIn, so a lot of those are unpaid subscriptions.
Correct, and I'm only saying this because I have been sharing other school districts' employment positions posted. So when I went to Southeast Delco, there's stuff in there, so I don't know if you were aware of it. So just the HR person in some of the districts I do know, and they just tagged me the person, I just reshared those posts. So that is a good way of getting other educators to share posts through LinkedIn. So I know that we had it, the previous HR person and the one before that one, but I didn't know if they correlated or told you about the piece that we had. This is like try to do that.
Mr. Baxter, I have a question. So if Talent Ed is like the number one source that we use or where we post, how many of our open positions are currently listed on Talent Ed? And the one, and why are they're all listed?
They actually all have to get this, that is going from their application into.
So I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Are you saying that all of our open positions are posted, or all of them need to be posted?
Unless they expire, they are posted.
Well, so when I just looked at it, well, I was tracking it all through December, and it was never longer than one page. It was longer than one page for the beginning of the school year, and right now I just looked at it. There's some postings from the beginning of 2022, and there's only 2 from 2023, and it's the shortest list I've seen so far.
So we are, again, when they expire, they have to be reposted. Some of the issue with that is they'll expire times. So that is nothing that we do daily. That is something that
Do we have a secretary that could set reminders and calendars for that?
we
Because
don't have the resources to do that every day of the week. So that is something we're looking for. That is a higher person.
I just need clarification for myself, Mr. Baxter. So the board voted for a person to be a teacher at the Night Academy, and it's for a supplement position. So was she offered a position in the counseling office as well?
So that's the same person. So
Right.
she interviewed for a temporary position for maternity at Night Academy.
Right.
We then had the 2 positions that the board voted to Academy Park. She reapplied for that position. She did all the work for both. And then at the end, came in, did some onboarding, missed the vote, sent it over. Next day, items, she
Is she certified to be in the counselor?
So that individual, she was coming in supplemental, but she did need to do some academics.
So she was going to go to school to get her certificate. Okay. So my question to Bob, to our solicitor, if the administrator wants to send a teacher to get a certificate, does the board approve of that, or they just could, they just could do it?
I'm sorry, I don't really understand the question. Are you saying that who makes the determination as to whether or not to hire a teacher on a supplemental basis? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that we did hire her as for supplemental basis, right? Yes. So they decided they wanted her to work into the counselor office. So do they have to bring that back to the board?
That generally is an administrative responsibility.
To bring it back to the board?
No. The administration has the responsibility to make sure that the people that we hire are qualified and certified in the areas that they're supposed to be.
Right.
Now, if the board finds out that that's not the case, of course, the board can intercede. But generally speaking, no, they don't bring that back to the board. They just make those decisions on their own.
Right, so, but you're saying that if they not certified for it, then, they supposed to let us know? Or, I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Well, bottom line is, you're not supposed to be hiring somebody who's not qualified, period.
Right, so this person didn't have a certificate, so they were planning to take them, send them to school. Is that, are they supposed to bring it back to the board for us to vote on?
As long as they were hired, I'm not familiar, not being in education for many years, I'm not familiar with the certification process right now. But as long as they were hired by the administration, on a supplemental basis, contingent on them completing whatever requirements were necessary, because that's in line with state regulations. They don't have to bring that back to the board. You hire the administration on the assumption that they're going to be doing the right thing.
Right.
They don't bring that back to the board for approval. They don't need to, as long as the people are qualified. If the board finds out that for some reason the administration made a mistake and put somebody in a position that they were not qualified for legally, as far as state regulations are concerned, yes, that's something the board will take action on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but I think this is the case because she didn't have a certificate for counselor, to be a counselor.
That's something Mr. Baxter should be able to answer now,
Right.
whether she was qualified or not.
So she did have outside or some CYS and some DHS, some of that. School counselor is a whole different certification. So that is the portion that needed to be tightened up, which is why she needed to go back.
Right, but I did my homework a little bit and I ran her name and she has a master's degree in communication, which has nothing to do with counseling.
Mr. Baxter, I guess the question is was she able to be legally hired for the position that she was placed in? I guess that's the question that's being asked of you.
Right, so it falls under under the guidelines that we need for something.
But the question, I guess more broadly, correct me if I'm wrong, in paraphrasing what you're asking, is it legal according to state regulations, according to the Department of Education, as opposed to whatever the administration thinks is correct? Is it correct under the Department of Education of the state? I don't know without researching it myself. This question is coming to me without the ability to look it up myself. That's why I think the question is being asked of you.
So we did it according to how we did the supplementals for our different positions. So that's the guideline.
Okay, but again, like I said, when I did my research, she has a master's degree, which has nothing to do with being a counselor. That's why you guys were sending her to school so she can get that certificate. Under the guidelines, it is illegal to have anybody in that position without being certified. So, like I said, I did my homework, and I know for sure she is not supposed to be in that seat without being certified. So, I want to know why she was offered this position without having the proper certification.
Previously stated. We did it under the
But that's not under the supplemental guidelines. This is something that HR was not supposed to do. You cannot have someone in a counselor seat without having certification. That's illegal.
Ms. Bradford, did you feel like you adequately answered the question? Okay, all right. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I do have a question from Mr. Butler. Mr. Butler, just a clarification. I'm sorry, I missed it. the bonus, is that for, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Is it for all staff members?
Yes, that was the discussion.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yes, thank you.
Parent advisor.
I can do it real quick if you want me to, Dr. Ryan. Yes. So first, I just wanted to share, the next meeting will be on February 1st at 6:30. And I'd ask that you please go gently on us because we are going to attempt a hybrid model where we invite people in person to come into the library, but then also have it available on Zoom so we can bring it as many people as possible. I'm not promising it's going to be perfect, especially since we're not in the auditorium or this boardroom setting, but we are going to try to make it as best as we can so that you guys can all be a part of the meeting. So again, that's Wednesday, February 1st at 6:30. It will be a hybrid meeting. We do encourage as many people to attend as possible. We will be in the library at Academy Park. And on the agenda, we already have some topics that were brought up in previous meetings that board members have requested, like special education advocacy and scholarships. There'll be report card updates. We will continue to include upcoming events for both the schools and the local communities. And one last thing I really want to stress is every single school in the district needs parent volunteers. I will have computers set up at the Parent-Student Advisory Committee meeting, and we'll be happy to assist any parent that needs to apply for the clearances to volunteer. And I urge you to reach out to the principal at your child's school to find out how you can help be a part of their home and school association. Every single school is suffering from not having parent volunteers. I feel like Darby Township may have one or two, and at this time, there's really not a lot of home and school action going on. And parents being involved, working with teachers and working with students to plan these great events for our kids and our staff can really make a difference to the culture in the building. So please, I encourage you to consider volunteering and being part of the school community. Is there anything you wanted to add, Dr. Ryan?
Question. The scholarship and post-secondary information. What scholarships do we have? I know that the president wanted her scholarship to be up there, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, so she did offer a great scholarship. Unfortunately, that deadline has passed. I believe it was early January.
Yes, we gave out the scholarships on Sunday.
Awesome. But the counseling staff at the high school will be prepared to give a presentation on the scholarship opportunities for both juniors and seniors. Because for some of the seniors, some of those scholarship opportunities have already passed.
I have a question. Is Dad's on Duty ran by student advisor, or was that through principal?
No, that's a completely separate.
All right, that's what I wanted to know.
But I actually would like to touch on that for just a moment. Mrs. Thomas isn't here, is she? Mrs. Thomas, are you here?
Mr. Thomas is here.
I don't think I saw him at the meeting though. But no, it was awesome. Honestly, I did want to share. I'm so grateful for them for making. She's holding the baby. It's awesome. She's a good name.
How you doing? Good to see y'all always. Y'all look good. What's your name? I have that right there. You with the gray jacket. Yes. What's your name again? Miss Burnell. All right, Ms. Fernandez, I'm gonna just look at you for a while because you remind me of my mom, so you can keep me calm and keep my spirit nice. But I want to say thank you to the board for approving Mr. Banky Jefferson. I really thank y'all for that, for getting that approved. The date we have for that is February 21st. If that'll work. I know we got like basketball or something maybe going on, so we just want to make sure it's not a big game or something that day, and that we can really engage the community that day. So I know me and Mr. Vogt talked earlier, and he expressed some concerns, maybe. I told him it's probably nothing to be concerned about, but we had some concerns that maybe some parents might not want their child involved in it. Maybe thinking like, well, my child is good, my child don't need to be, talked to in that way, or might not need to attend that meeting. But I want to say that that day would be about decision making, and they all need to hear that. I don't want to single out any ones that you might say are bad or, whatever tag you might have on them. But all of them can use that day that we plan. I know from experience that my mother thought that I was a good kid that was in school, but the influence came from outside. So she found out that her son was selling crack and breaking in people's houses and stealing all their stuff. All right, so you might think your kid, oh, not my kid, don't need to be involved in that, until you find out that they do. And my friend Banky Jefferson, he was the same. His mother thought he was just a sweet angel, and he was, until he made one mistake that got him 2 life sentences plus 100 years. Thank God, he only did 33 of them. He went in when he was 19 and he got out when he was 52. Wow. But his mother thought the same thing. My kid don't need to be in no auditorium, listen to nobody talk about. All it takes is just one bad decision. They could be good kids on Monday and then Tuesday decide, because I talk to these children, I know they got a lot of murder on their mind. And they good kids, 8 students, but they got a lot of murder and viciousness on their mind. But they need to hear somebody tell them, if you make that decision, this is where you can be, and hopefully we can change their minds. So I want to thank y'all for that. I really want to thank y'all for that from the bottom of my heart. Before he called me, I really was planning on probably coming here and telling y'all I'd never come here again. Because sometimes I feel like we ain't moving fast enough and more brilliant than we should move out on these things. And some of these meetings we hold, just like my 6th time coming here, and I'll be looking at my paper like I still got nothing written down as a solution. I like solutions. And what do we solve tonight for the children? Again, another night, nothing. It's just a bunch of ego and just a bunch of self stuff, and everybody got a problem with somebody. I don't come here for your applause. I don't care if you don't like me, if you huff and puff. That's okay with me. I'm not here for you anyway. I'm here for the children. Because I know that, a principal has something ill to say about me, some unfavorable things to say about me. But here I am, a father, a black father at that, when y'all talk so crazy about us and say where they at, where they don't show up, and I show up and you still talk crazy about me. You understand? I'm here. So what did I do wrong? I've been humble, I've been kind, I've been gentle, I've been nice. I might have said some things that might have offended you, but it don't mean it's not true. Thank God the truth don't care about how you feel. Okay, so let's get that straight. But I'm gonna be here, and I almost let that moment like crush me. Like it reminded me of why I left here, and I didn't want to be here because I don't like to be in situations or spaces where I feel like somebody can change how everybody feel about me or something that I want to do, and they just got that kind of power. Yes. I don't like that. Not over me. Yeah. That's why I work for me. Yes. So I can say what I want to say, and you can't take my salary. I can do what you can't take mine. Yes. Okay, so I can speak my mind how I want to speak it. And I hope you do too. Don't matter what nobody think about you, because we're here for the children. Yeah. And Ms. Perry said, I just want to touch on that. I know you said about like a statistic or something, right? About the white females want to be teachers and people of color don't want to be teachers. They're not given the option. Or given the option.
It's not promoted to them.
Yeah. It's a lot of working parts to that though. Growing up, the education the way it is under this system, I'm just be real, it don't work for us. Why would I want to be somewhere that doesn't work for me?
Because we need you to make the change, that's why.
Yeah, I know, but I got to do things my way. I want to administer the medicine that I know work, and not the one you keep giving me that just doesn't work. You know, and my hands are tied. You know, that's why I left here, because the way I know it should be done. You can't fix a problem if you don't know the nature of the problem. You understand? If you don't know the nature of it, you can't do nothing about it. That's why when you go to the doctor, they want to know your family history, your personal history, so we can get down to the nature of this thing. You know, we don't want to think or guess, or we want to, if you don't know the nature, you can't fix it. I know the nature. I am nature. You see what I'm saying? So when you say that, right, you know, our mothers and fathers, it don't work for them. Our aunties, our uncles, our cousins, we see it really don't work for them. So it don't work for you. You don't want to be here. Why you want me to be here? Yeah. I see how upset y'all are. Y'all fussing. Y'all damn near fighting in here tonight. You think a kid is looking at that like, I can't wait to be a part of that meeting. Hell no. I don't want to be in that room. I don't want to be in this room tonight. Lady back there crying the way y'all going back and forth back. This ain't nothing nobody want to be a part of. You don't look happy when you doing the job. Why do I want it?
I know that's right.
You understand what I'm saying? You don't look happy when you in the class doing the job. You look stressed out. You depressed. You understand? But yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk about the program. You know, I just gotta. It gets me going. It revs me up. You know. Dad's on duty. Yeah, dad's on duty. Yeah, but I got a lot of connections. I can make a lot of things happen. But you know, you just gotta work with me. I'm here. Even the gentleman here, you ain't somebody to clean the bathrooms. I got plenty of people that clean bathrooms. You know, just give me a call. We can get it done tomorrow. That's easy. Cleaning up a bathroom in the hallway. You know, there's no reason that should be sitting there for weeks or months, years. You know, let's get it in. You know, and it gets cost you less than $2.4 million. I'll tell you that.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Jefferson. It's just the way we start in February, but we got plenty more people to come. That's just the way I really want to go at the kids first.
Right.
Start right there. We got to renew the mind. Right. If we don't renew, punishment don't renew your mind. Right. Expelling them, suspend, that don't renew them. We got to renew the mind and get them thinking different, then they move different. That's how I go. Mind first, then the body. All right?
I just wanted to say really quickly, we did receive your proposal.
Yes.
And I would like you to consider, it was for the one time, consider something more long-term.
Yes.
And if you could do that and send it to us, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Madam President, I need a point of clarity. So are we asking all our constituents to write proposals?
For those who are requesting to contract with the district.
So is Mr. Thomas contracting with the district, or is he just facilitating getting someone to come talk to our students?
Well, there could be a one-time, or it could be, more several. So,
Okay. Mr. Thomas?
anytime we're paying someone, we need a proposal.
Mr. Thomas?
He's outside.
Let's not bring him back.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, let's not bring him back to the.
Are you asking the district to pay for you to contact people to come support our students? No. So why are we asking him to write a proposal? Why is the board asking him to write a proposal?
Because we're paying for the service. So we need something in writing.
So we're not asking him to write a proposal. We're asking him to ask the facilitators to forward us a proposal. Is that correct? Okay.
And I also think he's managing it. Is that correct?
He's not the manager of the individual.
Thank you.
They have their own management company. So that's why I keep asking, is the board, not excluding myself, asking constituents to write proposals to support our students?
So just so we know.
No, I know how it works. I'm asking the board members.
You know, I'm just saying, just so it's out there that.
Because it seems like that you're getting paid for this. And I don't want nobody in the community to think that you're getting paid for this.
That right here.
No, I can say it with distance, sir.
I ain't getting paid a dime. It's all free. I told you before on the first day I came here, I'll be doing it for free.
So again.
Now the reason that Banky's being paid, because this is what he does for a living. Right, now, he charges $5,000 per lecture. He charged me $1,000. He took $4,000 off his price.
You're not supposed to be putting that on right now.
I'm sorry, my bad. He ain't really charged. You didn't hear that text, man.
Right. Sorry. So let's follow up. We're gonna move forward, but thank you. We
So
appreciate
the
it.
question
No, I
again,
understand.
the question I have for the board members, are we asking constituents to write proposals for them to help support us, support our students in the district?
I have a question. He said Mr. Vogt has something. What is it that Mr. Vogt has
The
from him?
the proposal from Bucky.
It's from Banky?
Banky, yes.
Oh, okay. Just that one, just Banky.
Yes.
Oh.
So again, to the board members, are we asking constituents to write proposals when they're helping us support our students emotionally? Are we asking constituents, the ones that pay
I think we're
taxes?
asking anyone who would like to be paid by the district. Of course, they have to submit something in writing to the district to request, to explain the details of what they want to provide to the district. That's what I'm referring to.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear. So when constituents come with ideas, suggestions, we're not asking them to write a proposal. What we're asking them to do is to basically be the facilitator so that they can get the proposal from the individual and or groups or organizations, their proposal.
Right, that's correct.
Okay, because you keep saying, write your proposal, and constituents
Right, that's
are
not
thinking.
what right.
And that's why I'm
And
trying to clarify it.
Right, that's what I think we're all clear on that now.
Well, a lot of constituents aren't clear, that's why I'm asking the question.
Right, and I answered.
So just to be clear, constituents, if you have an idea or suggestion, we're not asking you as the constituent to write a proposal. We're asking you to be the facilitator and get the proposal for the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Policy.
Hello again. Somewhere in front of you, you have a large binder clipped packet with a policy agenda and a number of documents behind it. The emblem on the agenda is like a rectangular law paper looking thing. Agenda-wise, the review of the past meeting, the last meeting was in November. There were no committee of the whole meetings in December. The two things that got talked about were doing robocalls for the meetings, which is happening. That was passed in the policy. And the other thing that was on the agenda that month, big thing, was policy 903, which is going to come back up under the items for discussion, because I believe it's sort of still in limbo and we need some direction on how to solve it. Nothing big, but it kind of has to get solved. So that was the past meeting. There are no second readings. The first readings, I'm going to divide into two categories. The first category is policy 248, which should be the next set of papers in your packet. 248 is being recommended for retirement by our special ed council. 248 is being recommended for retirement from our special ed council because they believe that it conflicts with the Title IX policy in the 100 series. So we will be retiring 248. The Title IX language is the newer language and what we should be going by. So that's the retirement. The other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I believe, policies. There was a request, two requests by the board prior to winter break, sometime between, I want to say, Thanksgiving and the winter break. One request, which was a small discussion that was not resolved to my knowledge, was starting a committee to review all district policies, which we had a short discussion about. Some of them had just occurred. We had been going through the series every month, and that some of the board members currently on the board had participated in that process. We left it at if we wanted to start that process over again, we could, but there wasn't resolution. The other request at that time, or around that time, that was also made was a request to review all discipline policies. So what happened in December was the policies that you see on this agenda were all agenda items in December for review. They are not current recommendations from PSBA. The reviews all got passed, but I'm not sure we accomplished the original intent of bringing those policies back for review. So they're back again. Right now, they're listed as first readings. If the board wants to change something, It will stay a first reading, go to a second reading the next month, and then be passed into policy with the new language. If the board is not interested in changing anything, we will strike it from the agenda and it won't be on next Thursday. Now, next Thursday is the trick. I'm not sure what the intent of the board is for how we want to go through this process of the discipline policies. Is it the intent that you wanted to work on those this evening? Is it the intent to set another meeting with all board members or a subcommittee of board members and either have that done in time for next Thursday or wait till the following meeting, which would be the February meeting? Or sometimes we have had board members individually add comments, and I sort of bring them all together, draft the first policy, and then it gets reviewed. So the reason these are on the agenda is because of the original request back almost 2 months ago now, a month and a half. But I kind of need direction from the board about how you want to move forward with why we're bringing these up and what changes you want to make. Is it we're doing it now? Is it we're meeting again, either everybody or somebody? Or is it individually, and I'll try to cull together, thoughts and put it into a first reading for policy? Did you just turn your light on? I thought you were asking a question.
Yes,
Okay.
I just want to make a comment to the board about the discipline. Again, as I have been into Academy Park, I have talked to several students who are troubling students. And when I have spoken to them, and just like Mr. Thomas said, they are good students, but they just get into trouble because of several reasons. And a couple of those students has said that they having so many problems, mental problems, because they have to deal with life as if they are a grown-up and they can't handle it. And some, like I said, they are hungry. Some don't have any clothes, so I express that the clothes that we have in the closet, but they are too ashamed to even want to let people know what they do not have because they know they will be teased. And they also stated that sometimes they want to kill themselves. So that's why I always stress to the board, it's important that we take the time out with our students. Because after I talked to them, I just had to go in my car and I just cried like a baby. Because they are reaching out, they can't get what they need at home, but they need somebody to talk to. That's why I take the time out to walk these buildings and let not only the children know that they are cared for, that the teachers know.
Sorry, the switch is off.
The teachers know and the principal. And the ones that stress to me that they want to kill themselves, I gave them my phone number and I told them they could call me at any time, any place, any time of the day and any time of the night. So I think that we should discuss this as a whole with the board because the board doesn't realize what these kids are going through. Some things are more important to them than the kids are. So we have to stop thinking of discipline and punishment and things like that because like Mr. Thomas said, and I work with Mr. Armstead, to give me some advice because he wants to help them out too. And I have different resources that wants to come in and help these kids. These kids need help. So, yes, I think that we need to talk to these kids, talk to the board so they can understand maybe by me telling this story, maybe they will take the time to walk through the schools and talk to these students, and they will have a better understanding than they are more needed. They are more in need than other things. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Are we gonna discuss the discipline guidelines as part of policy?
I'm trying to work my way through the agenda, but it is, my intent is to, yes. But is there a will of the board of how to proceed with just the policies themselves?
Dr. Ryan, I'm just still waiting for the meeting to be scheduled by the board.
Yeah, at this time, I don't think we would prepare to vote on a first reading next week because we haven't had a working session.
And
So
to be
I
clear,
would suggest
nothing has
that,
changed to
yeah.
vote on right now.
Yeah, we would need to schedule a working session, so I think a lot of these should maybe be tabled until, well, maybe not table is not the right term because we're not voting tonight, but maybe we should wait until February so we can have time to schedule a working session. And I mean, I do understand that we need to make changes, but if we witnessed from the dress code change that we made earlier this year, families, including parents and children, I don't think they're going to take well to us making massive changes in the middle of a school year. So as much as I agree we need to go over these and make these changes, maybe we should work through them through the remaining of this school year and have a new plan for the 2023-2024 school year.
Thank you. I'm curious what other board members think regarding the policies, the disciplinary policies.
I remember that conversation. I think I suggested personally that we review these outdated ones, not necessarily change the language so much. I thought we should review them because a lot of them were just outdated. So I guess scheduling a meeting would be, I'm fine with that. I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah, I also support scheduling a meeting so that we can review them. And I agree that swooping changes might be a little, not what we're looking to do, but make sure that the existing policies are relevant at the very, very least.
Okay, great. Mr. Fowler?
Yeah, I agree with that.
You
as
agree?
well.
Okay, I agree as well. Ms. Monroe?
I'm just waiting.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I make
Also
one
wanna say-
request, Madam
hold on real
President?
quick.
Oh, sorry.
I also want to say, just regarding Ms. Woodfolk, in terms of mental health needs of our students, it is dire. And if there are students watching this recording, and we just want to also say to families, to parents, to students, to reach out directly to Ms. Kaiser, Ms. Boyd, and Ms. Fernandez. They are our AP counselors, and they can support the mental health needs of our students specifically. Thank you.
Yes, Madam President, I do understand that, and they understand that as well. But the counselors have so much on their hands where they really don't even have time to really help the ones that's in need. So if I can do whatever to get a child to call me or to talk to me to stop them from doing any type of violence, whether it's against them or at the outside, absolutely, I'm going to give them my information because I want to save them. I want to save as many as I can because, like I said, the counselors can't do it all.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
agreed.
here to reach out.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also going to, we appreciate that. We're also going to provide some additional professionals at the Parent Advisory Committee. There are some resources. We have some excellent resources. And I just want to say, now that we're on the topic, there's some that come highly recommended since we're online and here in person. Nedra Tawwab, she's a licensed clinical social worker. You can go to Nedra Tawwab, TAWWAB.com to get more information about her. Dr. Joy Harden Bradford, also excellent African-American therapist, and Dr. Tama Bryant. She specializes in healing intergenerational trauma. drtama.com, Tama spelled Thema. Dr. Thema. That's for all who are watching and all who are listening. These are exceptional. They happen to be African-American female therapists, psychologists, and counselors. Dr. Thema actually teaches at Pepperdine in California. And they're all very active on social media and excellent sources for mental health support.
Can I add, Ms. Abney, by the time this airs, the Parent-Student Advisory agenda should be up online, and those links are available there too.
Great, that's great.
And and I just want to also add to that it is important to get mentors who been out in the street. Okay, those mental health people are good, yes, but they need to talk to somebody already been there before. You know what I mean? Somebody that's already been out in the street, somebody that they can relate to, so they can understand where they are headed to. So I mean, it's good to have it all. Absolutely. Yeah. So I just wanted to add to that as well. Okay, thank you.
So two things. One on the mental health piece. Back when I was first working with the student who started the Knights Chamber at the high school, the first nonprofit that reached out to me was Redeemed for a Cause. Redeemed for a Cause is a nonprofit that one of our alumni volunteer at, and everyone that is part of the organization is a therapist. And I had brought to the administration's attention that they would be willing, when they come in either monthly or bi-weekly to stock our closet, to supply free counseling services to our children while they're there. And I was told at that time there'd be a lot of paperwork and a lot of red tape, but I haven't heard anything back, and I've kind of lost contact with the program because it seemed like we weren't going to use it. But I feel like with some free counseling services, we shouldn't have turned it down. And I'd be happy to make that reconnection with that program, because I don't know why that's not something we would have jumped on. And then my second comment, well, this is actually a request. When we do schedule a working meeting to go over these policies, and especially with, I have the home and school starting and I have the Parent-Student Advisory Committee, my upcoming schedule is very busy. So could we possibly be given a few times, or can the board be asked for their schedule availability before the meeting is scheduled?
I agree with that, Ms. Perry.
My suggestion is that Dr. Ryan send a doodle poll with dates and times, and then everybody fill them in, and then you take the ones that are best meet the needs of all. So, and if you haven't done that, I'll help with that.
And Dr. Winder, did any administration reach out to it Redeemed for a Cause after I brought that up about 8 months ago?
So Dr. Ryan said that he was waiting for you to get back to him. That was the last conversation that I had when we were all in the room. I thought you were going to give him something.
The night I presented it, I did give all the contact information. Every single person part of that was part of that organization, I gave you their information, their contact information, and their background and biography. So I'm not exactly sure what was being waited on. Because what I was told was that it would be a lot of red tape. That was the actual phrase that was used. The concern was that if they weren't employees and they counseled a student in a way that a parent may not agree upon, then that could cause issues for the district, which I completely understand. But I was never given the impression that anyone was waiting to receive any information from me. I gave a printed packet to the administrators that were in the room and every single board member.
Oh, thank you. We're going to move forward with that. Thank you.
The two items for discussion, policy 903 came up previously. We had discussion concerning whether students need to give their address when they speak at a board meeting. That went to a first reading which passed, and then there was further discussion about it. And my understanding and recollection and checking is that it got tabled. After the tabling, it then got reviewed with no changes. So technically, that policy is still sitting in without a second reading.
Can you add the second reading to next week?
I would like to bring it forward for a second reading. Right now, it still reads that the students do not have to give their address, just their school. But I believe that was some discussion as well, and that may have what got us off track.
I remember that we were discussing adding the teachers, I believe, or something. Yeah.
And yes, then it kind
Yeah.
of bled into.
Yes, and a
teachers
board
had to
member
give their
felt adding the
address.
teachers and not other constituents may have been considered discrimination.
So the other,
Dr. Ryan, we're waiting for a meeting on that one as well. A scheduled meeting.
the other thing that happened during that time frame was there was a request to reach out to PSBA. Their emailed response is in your packet, which is essentially it is a local decision. Some districts do it, some districts do not. So I will bring it back next week, then you can vote it up or down.
No,
And
they're gonna talk about it in the meeting, right?
So it's not coming next week.
I think the sooner we vote on the students not having to share the address, the better, because it's for the safety of minors.
I agree. So when are we gonna have the meeting?
Well, he said it.
I think for that policy, we don't need a meeting. I think it should be on next week's agenda so we can vote yes and our children can be protected when they come to a public meeting.
I disagree with that, actually, because I think we wanted to discuss whether it's going to be equitable for everyone who's up at that podium. Everyone deserves safety, not just students.
All right, well, Dr. Winder did share with us that the Sunshine Law does not require them to say it out loud. So maybe we collect addresses in a different way and don't require anybody to say it out loud. Right, if their address is on the comment card, or if they send it on an email and we can see it as a board, maybe we should then decide. But here's the thing, if we do that, we have to go back to a first reading. So I recommend we vote on the second reading and then maybe revisit the policy and change it again, because the minors and the students are my first focus.
Ms. Perry, it's a week from our next meeting. Why can't we have a meeting?
Because my schedule's insane.
Well, I understand that part. You can do it via Zoom.
It could be on Zoom.
So again,
And still, we have to go back to a first reading if we do that.
well, that's fine. Just put it up there. It'd be easier. But I'm still waiting on the meeting. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm still waiting on the meeting.
But it was in first reading, and you all made some of the adjustment. Our solicitor was the one who said he felt that we should wait and get the adult part of it together to move it to second. So, I mean, that wasn't the administration, that was the solicitor.
Well, that was, Dr. White,
Yeah.
yes, that's correct. I do recall making that statement, but
Yeah.
as soon as I made that statement, I believe Ms. Peter Coy and some other board members said, well, yeah, but reflecting what Ms. Perry just said, the students are a priority, so maybe we shouldn't wait to incorporate. I think my comment was, why don't we make it all inclusive? But then because of the student piece, I thought the board at that time felt that the student piece should be accelerated as opposed to making it a cohesive statement that would maybe apply to more people than the students. So whatever the board, so I mean, I just want to make clear, Dr. Winder, it's not a legal issue for me. It was just a suggestion. But if the board would like to do it one part first and then incorporate other parts later, that's fine legally. Thank you for allowing me to say that.
But I think it can go second reading with all the changes. Yeah,
I agree.
it can.
Anybody opposed to that? Okay.
Opposed to what? I didn't hear it. Say it again, please.
Second reading with all the information at one time.
Not
as opposed
sending
to
it back to
separate.
first and then coming back again, because
So
it,
you're saying that the students have to announce their address?
They
No,
wouldn't.
no. Mm-mm.
Okay, so you're.
They're saying add additional people who may not need to share their address and not go back to a first reading. Make those changes and go right to a second meeting so that it's approved right away.
I don't agree with that.
That's a good.
So you can go to first reading?
All right.
I tried.
okay.
What's next?
All right. You got one more?
Oh, did you have one
I do,
more,
but
Dr.
I'm not
Ryan?
sure where we're at with
Were you
904.
finished?
Sorry.
We're gonna meet this week, hopefully give you changes, and hopefully it can be on next week's agenda.
Meet through Zoom.
Okay.
Dr. Ryan's gonna send a doodle.
That was for the discipline. Am I doing a second one?
Wait, hold up. Wait, Dr. Ryan, wait a minute. So I just want to make sure I'm clear
This is separate.
that the school board directors are waiting for Dr. Ryan to give us 3 dates that we can meet next week to have a meeting for ourselves?
No, but we don't need to do that right now.
So let me be clear. The problem I have is, 1, you don't get notified properly for meetings. 2, the meetings are put into emails with a long thread. 3, being notified of a meeting that I wasn't even asked, was I available for, except 24 hours before the meeting is unacceptable and unprofessional. So at the end of the day, is the board gonna wait until Dr. Ryan sends it out? Or are you gonna wait till one of the board members sends it out? Or are we just gonna make a meeting we're gonna say we're gonna meet and then don't meet again? That's what I need clarity on. Okay.
So Dr. Ryan's doodle was for if you wanted a work session. What you all are talking about now, we are not in that. That's the board.
That's what I'm saying, Dr. Winder, exactly. That is a board decision. It is not a Dr. Winder's decision, and it's not a Dr. Ryan's decision. It is the 9 school board directors' decision.
That's not what I was saying.
Well, could we ask the board secretary, since he's part of the board, instead of Dr. Ryan? Is that possible?
No, it's not their responsibility, it's our responsibility. That's the problem
that's
with
not
this
what we're saying.
board.
Dr. Ryan, can you continue, please?
Sure.
Madam President, may I ask a question?
Yes.
I apologize, but I'm confused. Dr. Ryan, what does the present first reading policy say about
So
notification of addresses?
2 things. 1, not about 903 yet. I'm sending out dates for discipline. We're still undecided on 903. The question about 903, the first reading was essentially changed to not requiring students to announce their address at the podium.
And that was passed at the first reading?
That passed the first reading, and then it sort of
Was
branched
tabled,
off into
okay.
other discussions and halted.
Well, in my opinion, and I'm not saying if the board wants to do this, it's fine. But in my opinion, number one, if you're going to look at just what Dr. Ryan just explained, and only involving the students, you can make it a second reading and put it on next week's agenda. However, if you're then going to add other pieces to it and involve the parents, that's going to change the policy significantly enough that you're going to have to go back to the first reading. So that's what I wanted to make clear. Whatever the board wants to do is fine by me, but you're either going to have a comprehensive policy involving everybody, go back to the first reading, or have a policy just involving students that could be listed next week as a second reading.
With possible further changes down the line.
Yes, yes.
So my question is, if you changed it from students are not required to give their name at the podium to no one is required to give their name at the podium?
Address.
Address. Because we already doing this part.
Right.
So I don't see that as a mass of construction.
I do,
that's
because it's significant, because it wasn't in the first reading. The first reading says just students, so how can you pass a policy a second time when it's not the same as the first time?
But the 30 days that's in waiting, you can't make any other adjustments from first reading to second reading?
It's a significant adjustment. I mean, I think.
I think we should do the second reading to protect the students next week and vote on it, and then add 903 to our working session with all these discipline policies so we can make the changes.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any opposed to either the comprehensive policy or moving forward with?
I really prefer the comprehensive policy, and I just don't see why we couldn't just work to get that done and then have it be the first reading.
Anybody else
Or
have a
if
strong?
we have to wait, that's fine, but it just seems like it'll be more work to do one and then try
And
to
then
do
come
it
back.
all over again.
I understand that, but I'm willing to do more work if it's for the protection of minors.
Great.
Can I make an announcement about the policy you're talking about? 903 was already voted on. It's already in the policy that students do not have to provide a pack test on their school. It's on board now.
It is. It's in,
I thought it
because
was.
because it got tabled, it's in the active section. There's nowhere to put it for table.
It's
You're
tabled.
technically correct.
It's
right.
It's table.
So we'll put it on, it'll be on for next week with the students as a second reading.
Right, it'll go
Yeah.
up and down.
It'll be on for the second reading, and then you all can decide from there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Ryan.
The last thing is discipline guidelines, which I believe is gonna fall into the meeting that you just discussed, we just discussed. So in front of you, you have a stapled 2-page packet. Well, the first has the Southeast Elko logo and says discipline guidelines A. The second says B. They are 2-sided sheets. This stems from the conversations in the fall about repeat offenders. We talked a little bit about it at the pre-session in December and came up with 2 rough drafts. One that delineates minor, middle, and major infractions. The other one does the same. The difference is the steps that we would take for repeat offenders. I would assume, given the conversation that's going to happen about discipline policy, this would also be a part of that conversation.
Can I ask a
Might not
question
use the
about
word
minor
B.
infractions?
I'm sorry?
Can I ask a question about what's considered minor
Sure, right now
infractions?
that's just a draft, but go ahead.
Because when we first discussed, when this first came up, the main focus was for violent offenders and other things that are bad, like drugs and things like that in school. But when the minor infractions were added, I got a little nervous, especially, I believe we mentioned that may include latenesses and IDs. And if we're having all this discussion about the importance of mental health of children, I couldn't imagine expelling a child for not coming with their ID multiple times, or expelling a child for being late, when that's something truancy will handle if it gets too far. And latenesses, losing your ID, excessive absences, things like that, could all be direct issues from what's stemming at home. And if we expel them, well, first, if we suspend them after the second time or the first time, now they're stuck in that home. And then if we expel them, we lose total sight of that child. And if we're concerned about their mental health, I don't agree that these are going to be good actions. Now, for the major infractions, there's a lot of this I can definitely agree upon. But the minor infractions, I think, is hurting our community by sending children out into the world who we still had an opportunity to help.
What is your question?
It wasn't a
Oh,
question.
right, yeah.
Well, my question is latenesses and IDs. And I mean, the dress code is there. So are latenesses and IDs included in minor infractions?
They would be, but I want to be clear about something. So we, as a district, have gone back and forth on being restorative and responsive, cleaning things up, worried about mental health, sometimes overlapping.
Right.
This is a direct result of a board discussion. This is not Jeff Ryan's recommendation.
No, I know.
What I agreed to do to move the conversation along was to get something down on paper so that we weren't just spitting ideas back and forth at each other. So this is by no means my recommendation of what we should do, and I agree with all the mental health components that we've talked about this evening. But this needs to be a lengthy discussion. My only point in the beginning was it also needs to be tied either at the same time or in conjunction with the policy discussion, because they are going to go hand in hand.
Right. So Dr. Ryan, we were supposed to have a meeting about that as well. So again, to the board, I'm waiting for a meeting. And so when are we going to plan the meeting? And it should be inclusive of all 9 board members, not just a few.
So I've been directed to send out a request to all 9 board members for for multiple dates for a meeting that, in my understanding, will include policy and these district guidelines.
So, Dr. Ryan, you were directed to pick three dates to see if the board members were available on 3 days, instead of the board members just giving 3 dates that they are available, so that you're not sending multiple emails back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I took it the second way. Not saying I took it wrong, but I took it that I'm requesting 3 dates from everybody.
Oh my God, jeez. So you're telling me the board members can't send you 3 dates that they're available?
We can do it either way.
Okay, I'm just
Giving me
asking.
3, or me asking, here's 3, is that somebody will have a conflict on each of those 3.
Exactly.
Right. So to me, it's better, everybody give me your 3. By luck, hopefully everybody's got one that works, and if not, I will deal the deal and get it done.
And when would you like these 3 dates by? Would you like them
I'm
like?
gonna send out an email tomorrow morning.
Jesus be offense.
I understand. I'm not saying what vehicle, but I need dates from.
But the other problem is, like, I don't understand why we're asking you to do it, and we have officers of the board, a vice president and a president. So I'm not sure why you're doing it when this is the job of all 9 members to be board members.
And I said we could communicate via email at a later time.
And the last time we communicated, I found out 24 hours before a meeting, and I wasn't even asked. I was told, once again, what I was going to do with my personal time.
So Zoom is available, it should be smooth, right?
Not really, because if you don't agree with the time, then whether you're on Zoom or here.
I mean, it's hard, we just put it do our best, right? Work together.
Absolutely, but we're not gonna sit in front of the taxpayers, right, and decide when we're gonna meet right now. That's not necessary, right? So, Dr. Ryan, were you finished?
I believe I am.
Oh, okay, we're gonna move on to next. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, there are no property items tonight. We're going to safety and security.
Oh, thank goodness. Come on in, Jeremiah.
He just made it back.
I was going to ask for a reprieve because all I have is bullet points, but my friend is going to save me.
No, he's coming back from the high school.
I was at the high school.
He had to go to the high school.
I had to go to high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't leave you like that. Come on. Okay. All right. Well, good evening.
Which one?
All right. So, Mr. Baxter, Mr. Butler, you didn't speak about anything about the contract for Corner Point.
No, actually, Dr. Winder had mentioned it, but you can fill in.
I don't know where you left off, but I'll fill you in. So Cardinal Point's going to be coming into Academy Park to bolster our security at the high school and supplement for any officers that are out at any other location. So that's 4 officers, and as we went over earlier, they will be placed in strategic areas throughout the day at the high school, unless they have to be pulled to fill in for other roles at any other schools that we have vacancies for. They'll be working from 7 to 3 primarily, and if we need them for any assistance during sporting events, they're willing to work that also, but that's a separate issue outside of what the proposal was for. All right, starting on the list of review of ongoing projects for camera system update. A new camera installation is completed at APHS. Administration from each school was trained on how to use the camera system on December 15th. AES has replaced 12 dome cameras at Academy Park and 4 dual head cameras at Academy Park also. So the cameras that we were waiting to be replaced have been replaced. The football stadium cameras, that installation is complete. That was completed in November. As far as the concealed weapons detection system, the Evolve system, the installation for the network line is complete. So that unit at APHS in the main entrance is connected to the network which is integrated with the Avigilon network video recorder. So there's cameras on that unit that record video as well. All right. For the network video recorders, installation at all schools is complete. AES has been working on retention issues as far as the length of time that video would be kept. And they conducted a test and are waiting for the results on that so they can address the retention issues at each of the locations. Camera near the exterior doors, AES has set up motion sensors to pop up on the security monitors in the booth. So when there's motion near the exterior doors, an alert will trigger and the screen will pop up in the security booth on a large screen to notate that there is motion near those exterior doors. Okay. Door alarms. So there was an issue previously, the control panel at APHS near the TV production area. That control panel wasn't communicating with the server. That control panel has been replaced. It is communicating with the server. Premises is a system that we use, ID card, that notifies when doors are open. Those licenses were purchased and installed for the program to be used inside the security booth. Another update for window armor, that installation was complete. There was one room at APHS and the rooms at the Knights Academy. That installation was completed on December 23rd. Any questions? No?
Any questions on safety and security?
You can sit down.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Osma.
All righty.
At this time, we are going to have our public comments. Okay, Michelle McGowan.
You got 3 minutes.
Oh, mess.
Michelle McGowan, 421. Michelle McGowan, 421 Clifton Avenue, Sharon Hill. Forgive me, my head hurts. One, I sent an email requesting that at the next public meeting, not necessarily this one, but perhaps next week, that we start the meeting off with an apology to the board member who was wrongly accused of spreading information to the public that wasn't. But just putting that out there, it was made in a public meeting, should be apologized in a public meeting. Just saying. Next, aptitude tests. Why are we not doing aptitude tests? If you want to be able to find the kids who are interested in education and teaching, wouldn't an aptitude test be able to get you to find those kids early on and start nurturing them towards what their goals are? Instead of just kind of going, well, you guys tell us if you want to do it. You start searching them out and find out if they want to do it. How many students are not eating at lunch? Please move faster with the decision making on implementing this into the schools. I'm the person who brought it to the board's attention that the quality of the meals were so deplorable back in April or May. It's now January, and we just rolled out a new program to one school. Why on earth would it take this long? We've got kids, those kids that are at the other schools are just as hungry. We don't have time to sit back and just continue to wait for, okay, now we've seen how it worked at this school. Now we're going to move to this school and see if it works here. Each school is different. Let's just move. We got to do something. These kids are hungry. They don't have the chance to eat excuses. The student council fundraisers of like the Me and My Dad dance and the Mom and Me movie night, can we get those notifications like a month in advance so that people can take off for work so that they can attend these things? We get this notice like 2 weeks before, a week before. People have schedules they have to put in and you got to request off. You can't do that quick. So let's step that up with our our notification of special events. Were the staffing, I'm sorry, I was writing notes while I was doing it. Were the staffing updates that were shown, I said that were they district-wide or was it just AP? I appreciate that we got all the detailed information, the lovely PowerPoint presentation about AP. I want to know about the rest of the school district. Can we see those numbers? Can we create an email account or a system where students can take pictures of cleanliness issues and submit them, videos of toilets not working, videos of classrooms not being cleaned, so that you guys can get the proof you need to see if these schools are not doing what they're doing. Stop trusting administrators doing this because they're not doing it. If too many people have come meeting after meeting after meeting to talk about the very same thing, you got to stop taking the word of the person who's saying, yes, it was done, because it clearly wasn't. I have been at the school. I am part of TOPS. I am part of the musical program. One of the rooms we used for makeup, it was an art room. I, out of the kindness of my heart, because I was thankful for the teacher letting us use their classroom, went through and swept every inch of that room because I use glitter. I love glitter. And I knew that I had made a mess and I wanted to make sure that, when the kids made messes, we cleaned it all up. I found a candy cane when I was sweeping that looked like it had been there since the 80s. It was in a pile of just dust and crap all on the floor. The mound of dirt that I got just by sweeping was unbelievable. And I even wrote a little note to the teacher just saying, thank you very much. I swept the classroom. After every performance, well, not every performance, but at the end of the show, the reason that those rooms look so good is because I'm one of the parents that's back there drilling it in. You can't leave this room until you put it back better than we got it. And we go in and we go hard with the cleaning. And the things that we're picking up are not the things that we even did. We're picking up pens and pencils and dirt and tests and everything, everywhere. And it's every single year. So it's not being handled. So, I mean, I know I appreciate what the people do, but they're not doing enough. So just putting it out there. If the number reflect how many people took the Keystones and the PSSAs and the lower enrollment number, or the number of people that took it is why our numbers are so low. Wouldn't that actually make it better that they were having a lower number of students? Because the ones who showed up were the ones who are pretty much in school regularly anyway. The ones who would technically be behind and not doing it wouldn't feel like coming and taking a test they don't have to take anyway. So the number reflects the percentage of the people that took the test. Here's how they did. So if 20% of those kids passed that test, that means out of the 20%, or of 20% of the kids that were dedicated enough to take it, were the only ones that could pass it. So that's not okay. That number screams problems. It should have been a higher number because we had a less number of students taking it.
That is perception, because I could just say, I want a day off. I'm sending these kids to school. So we just can't, when you're starting to deal with data, you just can't make up as you go. We can assume, but that assumption doesn't have to be correct.
Okay, but the assumption is that the numbers were, because we didn't have enough kids showing up, the numbers were low. You're assuming that the kids who showed up weren't the ones that were able to take it. You're saying that's why those kids were there. It doesn't matter.
I'm saying attendance overall is affecting us throughout the district for a number of years.
It does, and it does.
I'm not making any assumption about other people who sent their kids and who didn't.
Right, but what I'm saying is, of the kids who took the tests, the numbers were ridiculously low. So that's a problem. It doesn't really matter if it was 4 kids that took it or 100 kids that took it. Those numbers are low. So let's not make the excuse of, oh, it was just low attendance. We stop, no excuse time. We just go, hey, those numbers were low. Let's bump them up. We're not going to worry about, oh, well, Johnny didn't come to school that day. That's an excuse. we need a reason to, or we need something to work on, to build on it. And right now, having classrooms where people aren't even there and teaching, and we're supposed to be sending these kids off to college, that's not it. Because those kids are grossly underprepared. And we can't turn around and go, well, we didn't have everyone come into class that day. My kid went, so why is my kid not going to get an education? So that's, I really, while I appreciate that attendance is important, that's not the only reason. If the teachers aren't available to teach the class, oh, never mind, we're just talking about that. It takes very little effort to take a reminder, to set a reminder for a job posting. We all have these things right here. Literally, I'll post a job, put a reminder on my phone, hey, check it in like 30 days. It's not that hard. So those should be top priority. We don't have people. The first thing we want to do is check every single day where if I posted this job because we need the people. So I think we need to watch what we're saying on that. And then the other thing is, I think you guys kind of owe us all a little bit of an apology because you changed that meeting to 5:30. We showed up at 5:30 and then y'all didn't come in until after 6. So that was not okay. The meetings were previously set for 6. Let's leave them at 6. Let's keep respect for other people's time. We're trying to keep respect for yours. So that's it.
Thank you.
Francesca Barley.
Hi, everybody. Francesca Barley, 14 Lafayette Ave, Collingdale. I just jotted a few things down. I just wanted to go over a couple of things. When it comes to our cleaners and our cleanliness, people rent our facilities for like outside resources like rec clubs and whatever. How much of that do we charge them more money based on if we need to hire more cleaning people, or how does that work? I just want to make sure that we're charging the right amount to people that we're renting out our spaces to, and they're responsible for some of the cleaning money as well, since some of those people also. So that's my first thought. I know that we are hiring the counselors, which is a fantastic idea. As you guys know, I've been asking for at least 1.5 years for the college and career counselor. But my concern is for the kids that now currently do not have a college and career counselor and have not had one. So last year when we did scheduling, these kids go in blind to scheduling. And let me tell you what I mean by that. They have no clue what they're doing. They have no clue how many credits they're supposed to take. They have no clue what classes are available to them. Last year it was rolled out to them in Roundtable. I don't know how it's going to be rolled out this year, but there hasn't even been Roundtable this year. So I'm not sure how scheduling is going to be done. So I was just hoping that maybe with some of if we do get that extra counselor in, if maybe the counselors can sit down with some of the kids and let them know what they're actually supposed to be taking. Because one of the concerns that I did have, and I did speak to the counselor about it, is if you want to go to a liberal arts college, a 4-year institution, you need language. It's not even a requirement at AP. We don't even have language classes. Like you can't find a teacher. So, and it also has to be 2 consecutive years. I don't think the kids know that. And so when they're applying to these 4-year liberal arts universities, they don't even have the requirements to be able to get in. So I would just like to see if we could focus on more of that stuff that we need to know. And I am glad that we're going to focus a counselor on a career and college readiness, because it's stuff like that the kids need to know in order to be prepared. And I know that we had talked about the teacher education thing, and Miss Washington had talked about advertising, like how we are advertising it. I run the AP Parents page. Currently, that's all we have. We don't even have a district page. We don't have there's no information going out like from the main district to say like this is what's happening. We have the robocalls, but everybody's on social media. And so if you're, like parents don't know, and a lot of parents have gotten up here and say like, I'm on social media, I saw it on social media. Well, that is from me or some of the other pages. Like I know Miss Perry pushes a lot of stuff out. So, we're happy to do that and we'd like to do that, but I know for a fact that if you go on Interboro's webpage right now, they're hiring a PR person as well as a community engagement person. This is something that would be very beneficial to the district, not only to get stuff like this out there, like Ms. McGowan was saying, in advance, but also maybe to clean up some of the messes that we've kind of gotten ourselves into with some, get positive media out here, like Diana Allen getting the 4-year playing college. Like, I put that on my page. I had over like 5,000 engagements on that. So if we had a person that could do positive engagement, I just think that that's something that the board would need to look at down the line. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Margaret Bing?
Good afternoon, good evening, good night.
Good night.
Margaret Bing, Secretary, Darby Township School / mother, 3 kids in the district, Pine Street, Glen Olden. Because I'm exhausted. You did address the question, but I would like it spelled out all for the public on YouTube and everywhere else. Finance number 3, this bonus, because that applies to me too. I've been working every day since August. I'm exhausted. I know it's for Mr. Butler, I understand, but I would just like to make sure that it includes everybody who's doing this.
I did respond to that question.
I know, but please, just entertain me. Please. Okay, thank you. Next, as parent, this Act 158 of 2018, does that mean that this was enacted in 2018? And I apologize if I'm not totally abreast on what this should be. I know I should be, especially because I have a senior this year. Now, if this came out in 2018, I had a senior that graduated 2018. I've never even heard of all of these pathways and this and that. He graduated. I shouted, screamed at Newman, and we went on about life.
So
my senior came home. My senior came home and he's freaked out because he's like, I gotta go do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this, da da da. So I'm trying to navigate with him through all of this. But I'm just like, you were just bringing this on our kids now on what they have to do. And they are afraid and scared, which if you're doing what you were supposed to do, you shouldn't have too many problems. But it's just like, to hear all of this in January, and I know because of my son that graduated in 2018, he graduated with too many credits and could have had dual enrollment, and I wasn't aware of that because there was a change somewhere along his years with the scheduling and the offerings, the bell schedule, or however they did it. His class, they got too many credits. So the kids really need to be abreast of this before January of their senior year. They really need to have a better understanding coming in of what needs to be happening academically for them on their pathway to graduate. I think even through middle school, they need to start learning what your GPA is, what your ranking is, how this stuff will trail them into their high school years and hopefully get them excited to further their education, because they're rather defeated when they're looking at this now in January, if they have to do credit recovery and so forth and so on. That's the one thing. Now, the PowerPoint and all of that about the high school, and I've been here for quite a few meetings about the high school and the high school and the high school. I appreciate, Dr. Winder, that you laid all of that out. But honestly, as a parent, I would like to hear what the principal himself would like to do. I don't want to hear it from somebody else to say, well, he did this and he did that. I appreciate it, but I want to hear it from him because to me, he's just not vested. I want to hear what he has to do because he said all that he didn't have, and we're doing all of this and we're spending all of this money. And I'm talking about buku cash is coming all of this out of what he's saying that he doesn't have. I want to hear from him. I don't want to hear it from somebody else about what's going on. And we're having all of these meetings, and 90% of these meetings are about his building. He needs to be accountable for that and speak up and talk about that. What has he done? How's his engagement with the kids? What is he doing? Is he stationed at arrival during when the kids are coming in? Is he stationed at lunches when all this, the fights and all this is going on? As a parent, I don't want administrator. You guys have been berated and came across at meetings and stuff like this. It's not you guys that run the building. It's the principal. He's accountable. I've said this before, and I will keep saying it. I appreciate the stuff that you guys try to put into effect, and that's fine. But what I don't appreciate is somebody who can get up and say, well, y'all didn't give me this and y'all didn't give me that, but then hides behind everything else and lets y'all take the slack for it. He needs to be held his feet to the fire for what he hasn't done or is doing or has ideas about doing. I'd like to hear it from him. And breakfast at the high school. This is just a question. Is there enough time for the kids to actually eat breakfast at the high school to get to class? If class starts at 7:35, what time does breakfast actually start? Because I'm trying to resolve the issue with my 10th grader because I'm trying to make sure he's getting where he needs to be on time. Those are my thoughts and stuff. Thank you.
Mr. Vogt, what time
Thank
is
you.
breakfast? 7 o'clock. That's
7.
what I thought.
Okay, 7 a.m.
But then what time does the bus get? The bus there at 7?
We open the doors at 10 hours.
Wait, for buses. So walkers can come in at 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Maria Jenkins?
Maria Jenkins, 1560 Delmar Drive, Fallcroft. You have my direct address on the form. I just had a few questions in regards to a few things that was mentioned tonight. You guys mentioned that this district has a request of the students having 28 credits, and statewide is 121. And was it 128 or did I? Okay. Excuse me. So 128 requirement, and the PA law is 121. Academically, we're not really servicing our children and giving them what they need to excel at any rate, so to speak. So I know you guys are preparing things to be revisited. I think we should definitely, you guys should definitely take a look at your requirement versus what you're offering our students, because this is a setup. You can't expect 128 when we're not even making 121 and having this as a local in our district requirement. Something like that should definitely be revisited for our children. Are said repairs and said visits from the custodial director shared with the board or any administrator as far as documentation? Because actions speak louder than words, and I promise you, every time I go to that school or I hear something about that school in the bathroom, it ain't never good. So to sit here and to hear someone say that they visit, they see it, and these things continue, and we've been talking about it for months. I'm not sure if he's new or if I missed something, but again, as the board, I'm asking for you guys to, just dig a little deeper into the pot, because everything should be documented. Something not right. I know another thing you guys are talking about with policies. In the 2021-2022 school year, my child was suspended for going to the locker, was caught at his locker getting a bottle of water because, again, you guys didn't have what he needed in the lunchroom. There was no staff to give him a pass. There was a security guard in the hallway on his way back, and he was suspended. So again, certain policies y'all have to review, or I'm asking for you to review as you guys are looking at this. Because you don't have what the children need. And then say we're gonna discipline you because you needed to go get a bottle of water because their water fountain not clean, or the hot water that we have in here, or the unsanitized situations. We cannot set our children up. Cause I came and I talked to the principal. It was just almost, I could barely get into the school. But I ranted and raved enough that they made him come to the front and he walked me to his office. So again, that's unnecessary. I'm not their parent. I am very, very approachable. The principal looked me in my face and said, this is the rule. It came from the board. Your child is suspended and it is what it is. I wrote letters and everything. And it's unacceptable because what's on his record, a suspension over a bottle of water because what wasn't provided? Water. So again, I'm asking you with that policy, please review what you guys are suspending students for out of bound infractions. I'm sorry, and to double back to the cleanliness, locker rooms are disgusting for our sports players. Horrible. My child has had several things stolen out of his locker because they're, and I bought him a lot. I don't know what they doing. I don't know if they watching or he's sharing because kids still do stuff and don't tell the whole truth. So he could be sharing and, stuff is going missing. But the cleanliness in there, it's not okay. That's it. So again, thank you for all you guys do. And definitely, if you can get the principal in here to answer some of the questions that you guys don't have answers to, then as a parent, I speak on myself and plenty others. We'd appreciate hearing from him directly. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I want to thank everyone who had comments.
There's one more.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
This went to the board. Email address, it's Mr. McAllen, but he doesn't have his email on it, address. But his wife is here, so is that address over there? Okay, great. I would like to understand how it's possible to change the time of a committee of the whole meeting time to 5:30 when you have not given the public a full 24-hour notice of the change in time. The robocall was made at 6:48 p.m. This is less than 24 hours from the new time and goes against the Sunshine Law. Parents and community members have already made plans to attend the regularly scheduled, previously announced time of 6 p.m. This time was announced on the list of upcoming meetings on the board section of the website and on the agenda distribution at the January 5th meeting. Many are coming from work and are not able to arrive before 6 p.m. I assume that there will be an updated reverse the time back to the previous schedule and publicly announce time in the next hour or so, or for messaging to be included in an announcement that provides a reason for the change in time with less than 24-hour notice. Also, does this mean that the executive session is now at 4:30 p.m. instead of the previous announced 5 p.m.? If so, have all board members been made aware of the new time, or is the decision on negotiation for contracts limited to 30 minutes? I would appreciate a timely response to my inquiry.
Ms. Monroe-Whitsitt, I'll comment.
Yes.
The meeting was advertised. I had the meeting advertised. It was in Wednesday's paper. So it was in advance of the 24-hour notice. And it was also posted on the district website.
The newspaper?
Yes. You didn't see it? Okay, I'll give you the proof. No, I'll give you the proof. No, I'll give you the proof.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, could you tell us what paper, is that gonna be like an ongoing thing?
The Delco time?
I'm sorry, we only use the Delco Times.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome.
I'd just like to suggest, even that you did put it in the paper, and I don't have anything to say about that, but the entire board needs to know before you put it in the paper, because just like Miss Monroe and Whitsett said, that the entire board needs to know what we're going to do. And I think that we all should pick a time together, instead of you telling me what I need to be and what you don't even know what I need to do. So all of us need to get together and figure out what date that we can figure out together. Thank you.
Thank you. Upcoming events and meetings. We have our upcoming school board business meeting next week, Thursday, January 26th at 7 p.m. Our next committee of the whole, Thursday, February 16th, 2023 at 6 o'clock. And
I have a question before we adjourn.
hold on. And our next school board business meeting, Thursday, February 23rd, 2023 at 7 p.m. We just want to make a correction on the printout. If you have a printed copy of the agenda, I want to apologize on behalf of administration. It was a mistake on their part in terms of the timing. They thought that the meeting was later, or I'm sorry, was going to be earlier. And what we meant in terms of communication was that the board's meeting was going to be earlier, not the public meeting. Okay, so I just want to clear that up, since it's, it's been like a really big deal about that 30 minutes. That the board's executive session was meant to be earlier, not the public meeting for the committee of the whole. I think that's it.
So I have a question.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So my question is the board going to have a serious sit-down conversation about the contract? During a special meeting, Ms. Perry had made some recommendations. So again, is the board going to have a meeting to discuss, or are you just saying you're going to meet to appease the community?
No, we've actually had, four or five meetings in the last 6 weeks or 2 months.
And the majority of the board keeps dismissing other board members' ideas and suggestions. So again, are we going to have a serious conversation, or are we just playing this game for the public?
No games played. Absolutely. We have had, again, several conversations about the contract. Our solicitor can,
No, I'm not saying that we
say
didn't. I'm not saying that we did not have any conversations, but we had a special meeting on the 5th of January, and constituents believed that we were going to meet in good faith. And it's just my opinion that good faith was not met at the last meeting. So again, will there be a good faith meeting amongst all board members, or are you just here to appease the community?
Again, we've already had the good faith meetings. Motion to adjourn?
So did anything change, or are we staying the same with the same contract?
Is there a second?
Are we still staying with the same contract without any changes or accountability? Since nobody wants to answer my question.
No, that's not a human resources, this is not time for human resources.
I understand that. I'm just asking again, are we going to have a good faith conversation, or are we just still going to keep on with the same old, same old? So I just need to know.
And I answered.
Okay, so to the constituents, we're not meeting in good faith. They're just going to keep on going with the same thing. Thank you.
Motion.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Have a great night.
So do you guys want to